welcome. The track you're hearing is Dio of the Last Line. Yeah, I'm quite a fan of Dio. So, and it's mainly because of hearing Dio through Black Sabbath, but also Rainbow. I remember trying a bit of Rainbow before, and it's pretty good. They're both pretty good bands, and also Dio is a good artist as well. It's very interesting anyway to sort of mention this. But I guess the first time I listened to Dio was actually like 2015, 2016. That was also with Black Sabbath too. And yeah, it's been great because they just make such great music. What is there even to say here? It's kind of crazy. And I just really enjoy what they're doing here, obviously. But in this track as well, like, I forget the guitarist's name, probably is a familiar name and I just don't remember. But the guitar work in this is crazy good, it's very enjoyable, and I think that, yeah, in terms of like composition and solos, this is amazing. Again, it's really fucking good, and I just really enjoy this. There isn't much to say about the track. I know, actually there is one thing to say. Fuck you. But also, this track is amazing because it sort of feels like, what do I say? Yeah, I guess it like feels like a what's it called? It sounds like, rather no, it sounds like a Led Zeppelin track. Is it? It very much reminds me of the track, was it Kashmir? I can't remember, but it's like the same sort of chord progression, be it chord shapes as well. It's kind of crazy to me to think about, because I didn't really pick that up before, but obviously listening back to it, it's like, yeah, it's actually pretty crazy. Definitely feels great. Like, I don't know what to say about this track. It's really well done, and again the solo, probably one of my favourite parts of this, which is so fascinating. But yeah, don't really know what else to add, to be honest. Again, this is like a super interesting track. It's metal as fuck. Great vocals, obviously. Dio's standalone stuff often really good. And I think there are tracks that are much better than You Know What, Holy Diver. But this has to be one of them. And also there's like another one that's like, it might have been this one actually. I swear there was another one. Yeah, this one's one I'm thinking of. Yeah, don't really know what else to say. Just a great track. I recommend people listen to these, obviously, because it's quite fascinating. And yeah, guess let's move on. Well, this is a thing, it seems. Got my colonoscopy prep, and it's confusing already. It's contradictory, and I am like sort of clueless as to what this is exactly. Like, what the fuck is this? Because two things say two different things, and then one mentions nothing. So there's two bits of the prep here, and one of them is the diet, and the second one is the medication itself. So let's start with the medication. Not a single mention of diet, as in changing it before taking the medication. The only thing it says is to stop taking certain tablets, tablets and medications to control diarrhea, and stop taking contraception tablets. Great for me, I guess. And then the day before, have a light lunch, and do low in fibre. And yeah, it's very weird, very contradictory, because I'm pretty sure it said like 48 hours on the official NHS site before the prep to starve yourself, essentially. And I'm just confused about that. But then I get even more weird advice, because on the medication itself, before it was to take these laxative things, whatever this is, basically before the day of the colonoscopy. So the first one was, but the first time I did it, to be clear, I took the medication both in the evening, which apparently you're not supposed to do according to this. I'm not sure if that's the same for that one exactly. It's a bit hard to sort of determine. But what the fuck? It is annoying. Like, what is going on there? Like, I don't understand that. Why would they do that? So, that aside, it says here, because I've got an afternoon appointment, I need to take one in the evening before the day, and then I need to take one in the morning on the day. Okay, and also unhelpfully, they don't really give advice in terms of like, oh, do you need to, or should you rather like be clean before you go? Because I'm confused about that myself, and it sounds stupid, but the thing is, I'm not a social fucking person. I don't know exactly what the thought is on this, let alone if it's even optimal, like if it can interrupt or interact with things to be like clean before the day. It's just like you're not stinking like a whatever I am. So I'm a bit confused by that, to be honest. I don't exactly understand the logic there. I'll finish my relic grind, but it's weird. So that's the medication. And then, so after that, it's like just going to the fucking colonoscopy. And it's very weird, and it says that if you vomit, you have to contact the hospital. Okay. I vomited last time. I confronted them about it because they didn't tell me to call them for that. I confronted them, and yeah, like they said it should be okay, and it was. Question mark. But I sometimes wonder if that's probably what's led to my current diagnosis. So I don't like that. But anyway, this is just the thing. There's nothing mentioned about diet until obviously the day of the low fibre. Please advise avoiding food with seeds 7 days prior to your appointment. Taking your pickaxe bowel preparation, that's what it's called. Day before procedure, light lunch, low fibre. But that's all it says. And it doesn't say anything in the previous. I read this, but nothing about it. Clear fruit, clear strands, things, soft drinks, lemonades, those. Fried red fluids, drink 3 litres a day. Sure if you like. Yeah, very weird. But then the diet thing, I've got it here, but I've already read it. Diet thing says you have to take the low fibre diet 5 days before. Again, what? What is this fucking advice? One saying one thing and the other saying another. Who do I even listen to here? This is why it fucked up a bit last time, I think. So I'm very confused by that. Don't get it. And honestly, not good advice, it seems. So yeah, I'm quite pissed off about that, because again, it seems like misinformation. Never liked confronting her. Either way, let's move on. So, this next thing probably is a stupid topic because it probably exists, to be fair, but I don't know, not 100% sure. I'm always pretty uncertain about stuff like this, but I think I may have solved the problem to adjustable wearables. And also, speaking of which, I need to charge mine here. I've got like a watch with a rubber fucking wristband, which is annoying as hell. I don't really like when they're less adjustable. This has only like 12 settings, or 10 actually. But it's not enough, because one is too tight and one is too loose. So it just doesn't work as it should, and it leaves a mark as well, which is really annoying. So I've been thinking, how do you address that problem exactly? What can you do? It's a specific design. I've never seen anything like it before. I found it on sadly Amazon, but it was a while ago. Ended up getting more anyway because they're so good. But the belt in question literally is like a sort of a polyester sort of thing, design. I'm not so sure what to call it. Braided, that's it. And this sort of braided design is actually surprisingly good, because it's adjustable to your liking. It's a very simple concept, hence like braiding. It's almost like a rope, but it's stretchy. And that's also the amazing thing about it. It's lasted for over 2 years now, my original one. I've been using it like twice a week, up to 4 or 5 times maybe. And it's still going. There's like fake leather bit, because apparently it is fake leather, but I can't quote them exactly. I did ask and they said that, but I'm not 100% sure. It says PU leather here, but it says different other places. Please note it's dark brown leather, not black leather. Okay, I'm sure. But this has served me so well. Again, that's literally why I have more of them now. It's such a good fucking thing to have, because it really, for my sensory issues with autism, it solves the problem that I've had for a long time around it, where I just can't adjust it to my liking, and I end up struggling because I can't properly adjust it. So again, it's like, I don't know, is it a kick in the teeth? I don't know if that's the term, quote me on that. But it can be a real struggle. So adjusting it is always a problem. I look at things like, maybe not necessarily jewellery, but necklaces, wristbands, and wristwatches, and I look at them and think, you know what though, these actually need to have these adjustable things, these braided bits. But what I'm thinking of is things need to be interchangeable for all the watches. So the one I've got is a Galaxy Fit 3. It's good, it does the job, but it's again that adjusting that's the problem, and also it gets dirty as well. So the fact you can't take these off, as far as I'm aware, I've never seen a mechanism on it that allows you to take it off, or like stretch it off, pull it off rather. But that causes issues. Not to mention gathers bacteria, so you want to be trying to keep that clean. I don't know if it's waterproof, it's hard to say. Just while looking at it anyway. But you need to clean it, and so having one that you can detach and have it be sort of semi-braided, and this is the thing, just add a semi-braided option to these things. Because one of the benefits of the braided belt is that you can do any size you want. You can do it really tight, you can do it really soft, and it stretches. But a middle ground version sort of would be better, because you may want the professionalism one, obviously like the leather belt, or whatever it is. You may want that to be transparent. But you don't want it to look like stupid or sort of braided essentially. So you obviously want to change that so it doesn't, look a bit off. So why not have the braided bit where the adjustment is? So it's literally a braided bit in the middle instead of, around it, of the entire thing rather. I think that makes a lot of sense. I could be wrong. I think that is just very interesting. But yeah, what do I even say here? I think the invention idea that I have is that it's just the middle ground sort of thing. But even then, I think in terms of adjustment and stuff, you need to also have it be cleanable, and that's the thing I like about the braided belt. You can literally wash it, and it'll work. It won't make a lot of fucking noise, so you need to wash it with other things, which is annoying. Maybe even put it on some like trousers and then put it inside out. But yeah, it does work. Well, actually, there are those like washing bags. I do have some of them. Got them for the plushies. They need washing. But yeah, I just don't like how adjustable things are in some areas anyway. So it would be good to have that sort of alternative, I suppose, to make it a lot easier to use and enjoy and comfort. I think that is kind of crucial. I'm surprised that if that hasn't been done yet, it sort of needs to be done. I think it's a real big missed opportunity. It really needs some change in that area, because I remember looking for belts for so fucking long. All of them, some type of leather, faux leather, not useful, because they have that stupid, not really adjustable sort of tightness to it. And even then you could get the wrong size. Like you go a bit above, you go a bit below maybe, and it just doesn't fit properly. And even then, even with the adjustments, it's not always right. And with that adjustment, on the braided ones, it's free. You just adjust it to whatever you want. You could get the longest size, you could probably still fit it. Yeah, I like braided belts, it seems. They seem extremely good. And I haven't really had issues with them. They do trap heat and sweat, which is the only downside, but it's not too big of a deal given you can wash it again. I'm not sure about like cleanliness. I said that. So I don't know if it's like good for bacteria or not. Hence why I bring it over the watch. I imagine the watches are far worse because obviously it's on your wrist the whole time. Yeah, I think some things here obviously could do with tweaking and whatever. But that's about it, I think. Do you think there's anything else to add there? Just interesting to look at. So yeah, let's move on. So this is a topic I feel like talking about. It's about the death of personal computing, and obviously I've already talked a little about it, but it's kind of an issue. Where do I even start with this? I guess that with personal computing and the death of personal computing, it means that people won't have a solid sort of way to actually get around these things. So, you know, we won't have good personal computing, it seems, ever, because of the way that the market is going, with RAM prices being extremely high and everything just being completely fucked over by it. The prices are probably never going to go down. But on top of that, companies will also feel the consequence, because in reality, nobody's going to actually feel like they have an obligation to invest into personal computing. So no, there isn't profit to be had here, because they're not even offering an option. Like, what do I even say here? I thought I just find it incomprehensible at times. But it's just so fucking bad, because personal computing is such a niche thing, and yet it's something that people want to get into. The best times to build a computer are probably 2022 to early 2025, at least by my count, and that's after the scalper crisis in 2021. Because we had scalpers getting the RTX 30 series GPUs, AMD was barely coming out of anything. So we were all just getting fucked over by this, because we had no other option. And it really sucks, because there is like no way around it. we were stuck with this, and that's like a huge disadvantage that we have to put up with. But personal computing itself is important for many reasons. Some have a preference to make things the way that they want it to be. So say there's like a pre-built system that looks great, but they perhaps do not want the actual other components, so they only want the GPU, for example. Well, luckily for you, there's a solution, admittedly time consuming and research consuming as well, especially the research. In fact, I might have to do a, not a tier list, but like a thing about the worst parts of computing, doing the research and stuff, but that's for the future, if I ever get around to it as well, because that's like if. But there's so many things around this, and personal computing is important because it can make you happy. It brings you entertainment, it brings you joy. For some people they use it for gaming, for others they use it for video editing and audio. You never know, it's varied. It's a varied market out there, especially when it comes to software, because in order to run software you need hardware. I know people might be very illiterate in computing and say, well, why don't you just get the software then? Because the software needs hardware. That's literally the reason why. And we can't have it solely as like, what I just said. It's just software instead of a hardware problem. But again, there isn't much way around this, and it kind of sucks because there isn't much you can do about it. And personal computing, again, hence its name, is personal. That's the entire point of it. And if it's just going to die because of stupid AI, which, by the way, we need computing to access it, which I always find really funny to think about, because these companies are so stupid, they don't realise that. Like, you need devices like this to access the bloody things to begin with. It's so stupid. But it's exactly what I mean, and in this day and age, it's especially important to get the components and the hardware and software that you want. And it's not even necessarily a question of like if you need it or want it. I think want and need are two different things. Want is like a wish list sort of thing, so you maybe say that, oh, I wish I could have. Actually, no, I'd rather. No, I'm trying to figure a way to word it. Basically, you want something and it's not important. That's basically the difference between want and need. And in order to get some of the things you want, you have to get the things you need first, because they take priority. And so that comes in the form of, for example, computing when it comes to gaming, it comes in the form of consoles when it comes to gaming, and even comes in the form of getting the games themselves when it comes to gaming. So again, there's all those sort of needs that are required to be fulfilled before you can even attempt doing something like, getting a like a system or a console. Again, it's really varied. But that's basically just it. And if the market fails and doesn't provide personal computing, well, you can say goodbye to your AI, you can say goodbye to many different things in the world at the moment. And that's obviously thanks to the likes of NVIDIA, AMD and Intel, because they've gone full facial into fucking AI. I don't know how to word it in a dirty way for some reason. But the death of it means bad things. It also means good things in other ways, like developers having to optimize games more towards like weaker hardware. Because if nobody can run it, nobody will play it. That's the gist of it. If you were to release a Cyberpunk today with more demanding graphics, nobody's going to play it because nobody can afford the hardware required to play it. Unless it's a console, but the consoles themselves are expensive as fuck as well. So there isn't much you could do about that. You have to pick your poison here if you are considering it. But for those try and defend AI and try to say that it's not a problem, you know, those are the consequences. You're going to fuck over a lot of people. You're going to create a bloody monopoly, because that's probably what we're looking at the moment. And it's not a good monopoly either. It's really bad. There's no such thing as a good monopoly, I don't think. It's just going to cause so many problems for everyone. It's going to fuck everyone over, causing detrimental amounts of damage, and nobody's going to want to invest in stuff. And even then, if you have a monopoly, people are bound to fight back. It's the same way that I see this like pro-slavery stance that these companies actually have when it comes to treating human beings like shit, like objects. Their end goal, as I've speculated for a while now, is literally to enslave people and make them work for free, just to benefit themselves. Which is, again, a really fucking absurd notion, because, you know, it's not good. Nobody wants that. But it's the reality we're in. And they will enslave people, whether you like it or not. But it's only if you let them. And that's the difference. I think people need to acknowledge that people have power. And more so than the fucking full might of the military might have. It's just, this is the world we're in. And you have to fight or, well, actually that's like kill or be killed is the term. But that is literally the reality. So again, the death of personal computing means that nobody gets access to it, and nobody can enjoy it. So there's no point in it. It makes no sense to actually invest in it from any sort of perspective. So it ends up becoming a detriment from that point of view. What else do I even say here? What can I say? I'm still lost for words around all these situations at the moment. This is what we're seeing and what we're experiencing. And again, someone has to smell the coffee at some point. If you make personal computing too expensive, nobody's going to buy it. And when nobody's going to buy it, everyone else gets fucked because nobody can play it, nobody can use it. When they come up with, I don't know, maybe a new sort of game engine, who the fuck's going to play that? Who's going to use it? Nobody. Because nobody can afford the hardware that is required to run it. Do you see what I mean? And I'd love to see someone could run one of these billionaires, these AI billionaires, on this, because this is fucking ridiculous. Like, how do you actually address the issue? And I've heard ridiculous things from them as well, from like recent interviews. There's someone saying that I think knowledge should be something that you're charged for, which is extremely fucking dystopian. This is literally the definition of a dystopia. And this is why they want to ban books, and this is why apparently they scan books and destroy them after. Literally trying to rewrite everything and change it to whatever they think it should be, which is not the way to do it. The books are there for a reason, to be read, not to be fucking burnt. And even then, if it's not good information, then you need to make a rebuttal book. That happens. So it's not even a case where they're making a good argument here, they're making shit arguments, and they're making people sort of stupider and weaker. That's why I often laugh at fascists and why I think that they themselves are heading for death, and that's both as a result of this authoritarianism and as a result of the fight that's going to happen. Again, there's so many fucking dangers here, and again, I'm tired of it. I'm trying to think of the other thing I was going to say with regards to personal computing. Just kind of feels weak, as I've been saying anyway. Yeah, you rely on things. That's the other thing with this. We need mobile phones, and if this personal computing, and mobiles are technically a type of personal computer anyway, just handheld. and different operating systems. But if you are to basically eliminate the means of getting one, then what are we supposed to do when there's an emergency, when there's a war or whatever, and you need to know to evacuate or move? What are you supposed to do? It brings up all these questions, and frankly there's not enough answers in response to that. So, once again, the death of personal computing means the death of mobile phones and games consoles as well. Everything gets affected and impacted by this in the end. In fact, I remember looking like maybe a year ago actually, it was like a few years ago, it was a year ago, back when RAM prices were supposedly increasing, and it wasn't increased where I was. I mean, I wasn't looking at the right RAM, but still should have had a price increase according to everyone else, and you know, looked recently and it's all changed. But how the fuck are we supposed to afford RAM when it literally costs a fortune? What are we going to do with personal computing then? When a phone requires something like 8 gigabytes of RAM, not sure if it's DDR5 or what, but when they require that, what are you supposed to do? Because you need a mobile phone in today's day and age. You need it to function, essentially. You need it to do your basic tasks and stuff, get messages, obviously, communicate. Because of this personal computing crisis, everything's going to be fucked, and people think there's going to be a magic solution, like, oh, well, what if just another RAM company comes along? What if something else comes along? It won't. The problem is, nobody is doing that, and nobody has the funds to do it. I'm pretty sure people want to do it, out of the kindness and also just the logic perspective, so they want to keep personal computing alive because it is profitable, by the way. It's how NVIDIA even got here to begin with, how AMD even got there to begin with. But without it, they're nothing. So they are literally fucking shooting themselves in the foot, once again. No hardware, no one using it. It's just the way it goes. Yeah, I don't really know what else to add. Yeah, I literally don't know what else to add here. I just think this is all so shit. It's just a bad reality. It feels like a bad dream a lot of the times. And to go through my, what's it called? My PC part list again, how much it costs. Because I'll probably be looking at it every day trying to think, what am I missing? Intel Core Ultra 7 2070K. Yeah, might as well. 270K actually, that's a better one. Not to a DH15 cooling fan. Gigabyte EA90 Giga Wi-Fi. Speaking of which, I want to look at motherboards again because apparently I think there's a master AOS, which I saw someone use a Q flash on, which is cool. Has like I think 12 USBs, which is nice. It's really good. But memory, I'm looking at a Team Group T-Create Expert 48. It's like DDR5 7200 2x24 sticks, CL34, which I think is really good based on obviously a calculation perspective. It's as good as I'm going to get, I think, in this day and age. You know, there ain't much choice. And then the Samsung 990 Pro for storage, 4TB. Not sure the GPU, I'll see what's out there. I'm looking at a 9070 XT Sapphire Pulse because that's just the one I found. Sapphires do well on benchmarks, I think, more so than something basic like the XFX. And then the case rather is a Fractal Mesh 3 ATX mid tower case. Power supply, Corsair CX 750 watt. And then the case fan, the extra one for the exhaust, is going to be a Noctua A12 AX25 G2. Didn't realise it's G2. Also, the cooler needs to be G2, doesn't it? Or does it? Yeah, I think I will actually. I might change that. Because the G2 is like a far better option, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They updated it to a G2 I forgot what the LPC thing is. Yeah, it's got sockets listed as LGA, yeah, that's one that I need. Again, personal computing can be very interesting. Admittedly, it's also fucking complicated, and that's been taking up a lot of my time. Barely been able to do anything. But that's kind of the thing with this. I think like personal computing is interesting. You make things the way that you want to, and it's cheap, reasonably cheap. It used to be, because like a mid-range PC, like 3-4 years ago, was about 1,500 quid. Even with mine and scalping prices, it's about 2,200 quid because of the RTX 3070 mainly. Everything else was reasonably cheap, and then AI came along, and that's upped the value to about, I think, 2,800. It's nuts, but it's not great. And my system will go for that much now anyway because it's got damaged components. Because of stupidity in the area I live in. Just doesn't seem to have a fucking clue whatsoever about stopping power cuts. Again, I'm just not 100% sure about this. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. As I said, this entire thing is incredibly frustrating. I really think that we need some sort of like way out of this. There may even come a point where, because I sort of predict this is another thing that comes of this, when we can't do personal computing anymore because of AI shit, I think we're going to see some billionaire, some CEO, most likely come out and literally save the industry. I predict that happening because the way that I see it, they're going to get investments through another company that's prioritising AI if they don't go into debt. And this is the other thing, if they go into debt, they're fucked, and we're all fucked as well. Because there's nobody to pick up the pieces, literally, physically and metaphorically. Yeah, no, everyone will get fucked by it. And if someone invests in creating a personal computing sort of space for video cards, storage, or again memory, then potentially we're back. But I have to see it to believe it, and in this day and age it's not exactly reliable. We can't exactly rely on this. It's very, very much a struggle. Yeah, there isn't too much to go on. Either way, this all sucks, obviously. Don't know what else to add. Really do think that we're in like the roughest time ever for computing and for anything in general. It's just all fucking sucks now. And the death of the industry is something that's likely to happen because that's what's going to happen. It seems like there is no way out of it again. And we're all in full-blown panic mode, especially as gamers, as PC enthusiasts. There ain't much we could do. Anyway, let's move on. Here's me answering questions that nobody ever asked. And around me had a different accent for some reason. I was thinking about this because of like PCs and stuff, and obviously I'm planning to build one. And the question I might get is, why don't I, well actually what am I building rather, like what is it that I am building? Because if people assume gaming PC because I am a gamer, that's the primary thing I do in life at the moment. Although not at the moment actually, to be fair, it's more like over the years I've been doing that. And the reality is, I often don't give a shit about the gaming tag or branding because I see no point in it. If there came out a GPU that was like the most uninspired name, like the Flomjobular AMD GPU, and it's like not designed for gaming but maybe for something else, like maybe it came out with like physics for example, I'd buy that because if it performed well it would have been worth all the money. especially with like physics, which is a very underutilized thing now. It used to be a very big thing a while ago. My 970 never actually handled it properly. It sucks. It improved in FPS, but it didn't handle it well. Yeah, this is probably something that I'd get asked. Like, why am I not going with gamer gear? And the simple answer is just that. Like, for functionality over appearances or name. And that's kind of why I swapped anyway in the build I'm planning from a 9800X 3D to a 270K plus, because that's not a gaming CPU by any means. Even though there's a drastic improvement in performance on the X3D models, I just don't think it's worth it. And I could get more for my money for the same, or maybe I think it's actually less, for less the amount, but for other things I do in my life. And I'm not even looking for a stupidly high-end system either, and that's also one of the things that motivates me to create my own system and buy it myself, obviously. And yeah, I'm going to overlook every aspect and can perform upgrades where it's happened in the future. And I think it's very important. I really think when it comes to a system like this, if I'm ever asked why or rather what I'm going to get, people assume RGB as well. And I don't want that. I literally considered the Silverstone FLP because it looked cool and it had a very retro vibe, which was just kind of a niche thing, but I decided on something modern that performs well instead. Mesh 5.3, but no glass panel, no RGB. It's a very boring case, and even though the RGB is only a few quid extra, I'd just rather go without it, to be fair, and I don't want tempered glass anywhere near my computer, to be fair. But to me, it's just not very attractive, and with the parts I'm getting anyway, even though I could change them technically, I just don't think it's worth it. So, that's mainly why people also ask, well, aren't you autistic? Don't you get some sort of stimulation from RGB? And the answer to that is, not really. It's weird because I've tried rainbow stuff before, and I've actually have LEDs on my keyboard, my mouse, behind my computer, and there's also some on my current system here. But it's not very customizable, to be fair. It's only the GPU really that can be customized. People wonder, like, why am I not investing in RGB? And for my wholesome's sake as well. Isn't it like a sensory stim? Not really. In fact, it's the case with my RGB at the moment. Behind my computer as a backlighting, I have these terrible Govee light things, which they thankfully refunded me on. I gave it a bad review because it literally was bad. It's one of the worst lights I've ever fucking seen and used, but it works well. I will say it works, but it's just bad. The app is terrible, the setup is terrible, it's not well thought out because you can't even upgrade bits of it, you can't put two lights on top of the other, or rather you can, but you can't put like a third light on there, which is stupid. So you can't stack it in the way you want to, so it's falling behind on that, but I have that as my backlight for my computer here, and it's nice. It's not stimulation, but it's rather comfort. I find when I'm looking at a screen, it's good to have my eyes adjust to a good background, because unless there's natural lighting, I need to have the LEDs there to help my eyes, to make it more readable. Because I think there's maybe a scientific explanation for that. I don't know what it is exactly. I know pupils can increase and decrease in size based on brightness, how much light there is. Like, it's bigger when it's darker, but that is often like a factor. So when they're obviously too big, they're getting in more blue light, and then they're causing you problems because you can't really take in that amount of blue light, so the LEDs at the back solve that problem. Similarly, like a keyboard here, it's easier to read the keyboard with the LEDs behind it, And my mouse doesn't really matter, to be fair. I could do without, but I don't mind an option for it. It's just got the SteelSeries Apex, I believe. No, the Aerox. That's weird, I've got an Aeron chair as well. That has holes in too. I'm obsessed with Aero. Yeah, I guess there's a niche to that. Yeah, I heard about that Noctua mouse, I'm quite interested in that. No, this is actually the thing, I don't buy these for aesthetics. I'm not into aesthetics that much. Even then, the only aesthetics I'd ever be into is if I'm stupidly, like, rich. Not stupidly rich, maybe like a thousandaire, if you could call it that, or a millionaire. You know, I'd be happy to, like, customise things and move into a nice place, obviously, as I said before. Maybe a little, like, countryside house that's, like, quite old. Maybe it's mouldy, but obviously try and adjust it and fix it. But I'd match the aesthetic of it. So with my PC, for example, I would probably get the Silverstone FLP, but I'd also customise it. I'd put vines over it so it looks a bit sort of like a plant sort of feature, and put that around it. It'd look cool. I do know where to get vines from, like fake leaves rather. But also for my computer stuff, like everything that looks modern, for a keyboard I'd find something alternative. Maybe a custom keycap keyboard, but I need it to be the full key layout. But I'll make it wooden. And I'll make the mouse wooden, if that's possible. Not out of wood, but a texture like wood. And the mouse pad, I guess, same thing, but could be maybe an image or something, or something old, something retro. And the monitors, same thing. I'd look for sort of vinyl skins or something. I'm not sure what that's actually called. Is that a fly? No, that was dust, I think. Yeah. But yeah, the vinyl skins would be a cool idea as long as they don't peel off, obviously. But making everything look like a fucking wooden thing, and also getting stuff that represents that, like a wooden table, for example, to match it. And different types of wood too. Like, it's just a world out there of different things, and also you get to memorise that. You get to learn about different types of wood, something I wish I had learned in design and technology in school. But yeah, so many different things, and you can make it really like a sort of vintage setup, even though it's quite modern in its own way. But I want to get into the fantasy vibe too, so I'd also consider modifications, like maybe I'll make like a potion thing for my system. Maybe I'll do actually get a modern looking case. Maybe I'll make even like a custom acrylic for the side of the FLP. And then inside that I'll put in like potions or something. Something crazy like this. Maybe if I could call it like an LED lit up sort of potion stand, that would be amazing. Again, tying into the aesthetic there. It would be so fucking cool. But yeah, I love something like that, and even then, like, aesthetics wise, like, I get fake swords and put them on the wall. Get fake armour and stuff. There's so many different creative things you could do that'd be awesome, but obviously you need money to do that. But you can only dream. I wonder if anyone's ever done that. Let me look that up. Let's YouTube it, because it probably exists on there. Hopefully it doesn't AI slot me. Fancy PC setup. Medieval maybe? Medieval fancy PC? A bit of PC, but it's a fancy tower. This looks cool. Nerdforge. It's not AI, I don't think, because it's 4 years old. Getting the Colin First 4D gaming cell. I love that meme. I miss that meme, it's such a great song, great track. Wham, bam, shang and thing. Oh, there's someone here called Intruong who has built something that looks like Bicep with like vines and stuff. It's like customised really heavily. And there's the AI slop. Not this channel, to be clear, there's something else I found in the search results, and more AI slop, fuck off. Is it Makeover by Warriors? I don't know. Your bookcase would look good there, to be fair. You know, I kind of need to get into like designing and room soft design and stuff because I'm not very good at it. At most, I've got like leaves behind my guitars and fake leaves, obviously, and leaves over my bookshelf, fake leaves. And that's the most I did. I also put some behind my PC at one point, but it didn't really work behind the monitors, rather. So I need to figure out a way to make that a reality. Yeah, again, I could only dream at this point because it's way too unaffordable. Maybe so-called sort of setup, and that's the only aesthetics I'd ever do. No RGB on this, it absolutely contributes to it. So again, like the potion thing. Maybe there's like a custom sword LED. That'd be actually really fucking cool. LED sword. Like runes on it, maybe, or something. That'd be fucking awesome. Again, that'd be pretty damn cool. So yeah. I don't know what else to say. Just I'm inspired, and that's the point of this, I think. That's why I'm even getting Noctua shit fans, as I call them. Even though they're really good fans, but they're coloured like shit. But yeah, I'm happy to try them. This system, the new one I'm getting. Anyway, let's move on. I'm surprised I likely haven't talked about this before. And it sort of reminded me, this video I saw investigating whether a TF2 YouTuber called Fat Magic is cheating. And this other guy who apparently is accusing Fat Magic of cheating is a cheater himself. Fucking ironic. But hearing the expensive inventory be obviously now locked behind a back ban reminded me of a very similar scenario I found back in 2016 when this happened at the same time. Because what happened back then was crazy shit. I was with a bad group of people that just were shit people in general. They hated a lot of things, hated a lot of types of people, and I was vegan at the time and they often mocked that. And they just weren't nice to anyone, including their own friends. And they had their own like specific friend group and stuff, and they're just evil people, including going as far as like going to the dark web and I think stealing accounts and stuff. And I only know this because they share the methodology. Like they're literally fucking trusting of anyone, it seems. And these were actually a group of friends who I found through someone I met years before. And that's why it's obviously like really awkward and stuff. And I didn't like the person. Eventually I became friends with them again, and then all this happened. And we were big TF2 players as well as GTA Online players, and yes, I did cheat on that, but only because of him and other cheaters. I was so fucking pissed off. I literally did it to stop other cheaters and bring some fun to the lobbies. And maybe a little cash, but that's it. But it's so fucking frustrating looking back on these scenarios, because these people that I was hanging out with end up being complete arseholes. And so I go through the story where I have like, not really guilt, I wouldn't say it's guilt because it's more like fear, but I suppose there's an element of guilt realising that I could have been okay, but maybe not. But yeah, let's see, I'll try and remember this as best as I can. So basically, back in 2016 we were actually just enjoying our time playing TF2, and I had no clue, like some of them had expensive inventories and they were like happily playing and stuff, and then when competitive came out we were like, okay, why don't we just trash this for a laugh? And I was kind of on board with the idea because I didn't like what I tried in competitive when that originally came out, and so I tried it and I didn't really like it. I didn't even like it with them, and then they said that this was stupid, and then decided to say something like, let's turn on the mailbox. And I was thinking at the time, I'm not that familiar with what this is, but I know it's a cheating service, so I was kind of scared. I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen mid-game, by the way, that they were cheating. And keep in mind, they do know my address. That's the crazy thing. So it's not like I could essentially rat them out. Luckily Valve saved my ass there. But, you know, I didn't even know they had these cheats, so it's very scary to even be in that scenario on top of their shady dealings and stuff outside of the game. And these weren't even like adults. Like, I have to say that, by the way, because it's a very common misconception. But teenagers can be absolute arseholes, and these were literally that example. Like some of the worst teenagers I've ever met in my life. You know, having been a teenager myself, and also as an adult, a few that I've actually made friends with on Steam. You know, a lot of exploitative people out there, which really sucks, and it seems that they've possibly been exploited but also been terribly parented, given what I've seen from them. They're talking like not suitable for life videos, and that scared the shit out of me the first time I saw that. And it just wasn't great, and I was really only there because I had a partner who was in that friend group. Someone I knew from another country. It was a long distance relationship, and she was like 5 years older than me. So yeah, again, pretty awkward. So again, in this competitive game, I have to explain, they decided to enable the cheats, and of course it spammed the chat with that typical the mailbox spam that it has. And you know, they did it for about an hour straight, and admittedly I didn't want to go along with it, but I sort of had to for the sake of my sanity. I couldn't really think of a way to get out of it. And then again, it's like watching a car crash, so it's kind of like you don't want to look away, but you do. But it's competitive and it's shit, and my sort of logic back then as well, on top of the fear, is just, well, maybe this is fine because it's a shit game mode, as it always has been, and I still hold that view, to be fair. The TF2 competitive makes no sense. It's balanced, but doesn't make sense. And yeah, that happened, and we were doing some pub lobbies later when they had turned it off, and just again enjoying our time, just some casual, and that's it. There's nothing else happening, no the mailbox, no shady things. And then suddenly 3 of my friends, including my partner, because for some reason she decided to use fucking the mailbox, not on the specific day, but use it at some point, and all 3 of them got banned. There's actually a 4th, but I don't know where he went. But they got banned, expensive inventory is gone, they got owned, thank fuck. And that's sort of like where Valve also saved my skin. I could get out of that fucking group finally. Again, I'm quite a vulnerable person, quite impressionable as well, and I didn't like get into cheating. Obviously the only case was GTA Online, but that was because of cheaters themselves ruining it. So I decided to get back at them, but TF2, I'd never fucking do that with money on the line like that. There is just no point. TF2 is a game like, it's almost like a home for me. It's always been like that, even besides this terrible phase in my sort of career, I guess, or existence, I don't know what you call it. So that matters. But yeah, it fucking weirded me out, and you know, they were banned and their inventories were gone. And they weren't really like mad about it exactly, they're just kind of like laughing it off in a way. They're like, dude, holy shit. But my partner wasn't happy, and yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, I think compared to the others, she was okay, definitely not right, I will say that. She's okay other than that. But again, it sucks, but also it's quite funny to look back on, and also creepy. Because I think what people don't realise is the mindset of cheaters is they like to create misery. And that's, I think, what they were doing to me at the time. I was ironically being manipulated. And it didn't help, to be honest. I struggle with things. I struggle with communication. That's part of my autism. It's not like I could get away. And again, that risk of being in the house is just, with the home address being known, it's not worth it. So it's hard to sort of take a step back from that. And it's difficult. So I think that something like that is absolutely, it's important to mention this, I suppose, is what I'm saying. That's why I bring it up, even though this could technically get me into trouble, but at this point I'd rather explain the situation and give people some, not just advice, but also some knowledge, because I think this is important, especially with TF2 cheaters, and I don't know why I didn't think of mentioning it around the bot crisis a while ago, which I have a feeling they may be involved with. I don't know, I stopped knowing them after 2016, when that ended, and the relationship ended with me and my partner. But it still fucking sucks. And I just don't know what to do about this exactly, other than share the knowledge and experience. I wasn't going into groups to get any experience or even just laugh at it. I didn't really care. The competitive again sucked, so I didn't really care what happened. It's literally my mindset. But again, I have 5,033 hours on Final Fantasy. Okay, that's interesting. Almost my most played game ever. Anyway, I think this rather needs to be mentioned again, because it is something that impacts some people. Cheaters sometimes don't care that they've lost expensive inventories and then do it again, because they do it for the thrill, they do it for trying to disrupt a lobby and make people miserable. Unfortunately, I never got that satisfaction in a GTA Online, because one, I never did it, and two, whenever I did do it, I did it once by accident. I was kind of like, what the fuck? Okay, this is just kind of boring. This doesn't do anything for me. Not even the reactions, and I was just like, nah. Yeah, cheaters absolutely need to be fucking taught a lesson, but it's not easy to teach a lesson, because that takes a different thing entirely, unless you can actually get these people like doxed, which Valve should 100% do if they are able to. Something that'd be an extra kick in the fucking teeth. But I think nothing will change as long as Valve don't change their ways with that, with the way they ban these players, with the way they expose them. And again, this was like, I forgot to mention, the mailbox ban wave back in 2016 was huge. It banned almost every single fucking user of the mailbox, and yeah, rightfully so, I have to say. But it's a crazy story, I just think we really need to be aware of the signs and stuff, not just like the users, but also who they are, because that's gonna cause some trouble, for sure. That's why I think it's important. And I think the world would benefit from just this better knowledge and better experience too, for sure. I'm trying to think what else. I think sometimes, again, the worst thing you do against a cheater in any game, period, is to give them the reaction they're looking for, because that's extremely boring. And when it comes to like the botting crisis of TF2, people unfortunately fed that like fucking hell. They mentioned like the kicking and stuff, that gives them a kick as well, ironically. No doubt gives them fuel for doing what they're doing, going with assumption there. And yeah, again, in the cheater's case, it's like you're doing the thing that they want, and they can also target you to far more of that. It is disgusting behaviour, yeah, but we can't change it if you don't fucking make it literally make it different, like make a better punishment, make a harsher sort of punishment as well. Yeah, I think that's really that, to be honest. Nasty people, I don't know. see where these people are now, the people I mentioned. I can only hope they're not in the same scenario, or even ones who contributed to the bot crisis. But if they are, they could go fuck themselves. I'm not really afraid of them anymore. I'm just tired of it. And also it's just quite a heavy burden to have, having been part of that group at some point. Again, knowing this sort of shit. I can't recall if it's like the only game they've done it in, but hopefully it was only one game. Obviously GTA Online doesn't really count because it was already shit, but yeah, crazy people. And I also regret my time in GTA Online. To be fair, everything, the cheating, the giving money and stuff, it just wasn't great. Just bad times in general. Yeah, don't know what else there is, so anyway, I shall move on. Watching John play TF2 again reminded me, and he's talking about the quick fix, where the medic obviously, helps. But the things with healing is sometimes there's good stuff and sometimes there's bad stuff for it. And when it comes to every weapon, like in terms of, I could always do a tier list, I don't know. It's been a while since I've played, so my opinions would be based on basically 2024, I think is the latest I played, the last time I played. So yeah, like judging every weapon, let's just do it quickly off the wiki here. Scattered gun, probably A tier, it's good to use, fun, a bit annoying to reload. Force nature, S tier, it's too fun. I love the jump as well, you have short stop, probably C tier, there's no F in my tiers. Maybe there is actually. Soda popper, probably B tier. It's good, but it's too slow, because you have to build up the jump and stuff. Babyface blaster, probably B tier. It used to be very good, but it sort of fell off. Backscatter, I'd say A tier, but it's really gimmicky. Because the mini crits are the thing. It's like a backstab, but it's not very consistent, so it would be S tier otherwise, but nah. Pistol, obviously for like NG and Scout and stuff, so obviously this goes across all of them. Pistol, I'd say B tier. It could do with some buffs in accuracy and whatever. I think the damage could be just the same and it'll do just fine. But the problem is it's the accuracy more than the clip, because it's a useful secondary, and the Y engineer has 200 or ammo, I don't know. But it's just so fucking lacking because of the accuracy. It could be so much more, but anyway. Next one, a winger. I barely use this. It's good for an extra bit of jump height, I believe. That's what it does. Also, where's the effects? I don't know why it's not listing the effects. It's just weird. So not great. Pretty Boys, I put the winger in B. Pretty Boys pocket pistol, probably C tier. Because I think it's like a self-healing one, if I'm not mistaken. It used to be. If I go forward, does it say? That's not readable. Shit. So I don't know. But C tier probably. It's not great, even for the healing. Also, I think it has a vulnerability debuff on it too. Flying Guillotine, probably B tier, not my favourite one. Atomic Punch, probably an A tier. It's kind of chaotic if you know how to use it. I've used it in 2.4 to basically get past the intel and survive for centuries, and then cause like utter chaos. It's good to have fun with as well. It allows you to cross those sort of paths and busters and stuff, and then distract the team, which can help your team as well. So yeah, it's decent. Criticola, probably it's C tier, almost at F tier there, because it probably it doesn't do enough. It feels kind of shitty. It just feels very bad. Yeah, it needs buffing. Mad Milk, A tier. I think it's good, but it could be better. I think healing is really good. It depends on obviously where you're using it. MVM is God tier, but anywhere else it's kind of like, yeah. It's very gimmicky, and especially when you have something like the Scattergun, it's very hard to use, so it's often better to just go with a secondary when you run out of ammo with a scatter gun. Otherwise you go with something like Short Stopper or Force of Nature or Solar Popper, and that'll be paired with that, but it's not great. Then there's some of their weapons. Bat, pretty shit. Obviously Holy Mackerel, same thing, but it's kind of funny when it glitches out. I remember those glitches. Sandman used to be very good, but it's terrible and it's like C tier now. Used to be about S tier. Candy Cane, C tier, used to be very good but bad now. Boston Basher was never good, C tier. Sonar Stick, very gimmicky, C tier. Fan of War, A tier, is pretty good for mini crits obviously and marking them for that. Atomizer, S tier, just extra jump is good. Even though you don't use it often, it's good. And the Rap Assassin, probably A tier. I think it's fun. Anyway. And there's Soldier. Default Rocket Launcher, probably A tier. But it's very gimmicky, that's the only thing. I say it's gimmicky because if you haven't used any of the other rocket launchers, you wouldn't understand. And even then, the original is still A tier. Direct Hit, probably B tier, it's just not strong enough for what it's doing. Even though it's just gimmick, it's still not strong enough. Then Black Box, probably A tier for me. I quite enjoy the Black Box, it's probably one of my favourite weapons. I don't know, I'm tempted to put it in S tier, because even though it's annoying to use and reload because of the clip size, it's still very useful because it's like a self-heal, especially when you have no medic or you have a medic and the medic's not cutting it. That extra 15, getting up to like 45, was it 10? I can't remember how much it heals now. It's really useful. Rocket Jumper, S tier, is just fun to move around in. Liberty Launcher, to be honest, I've never really used it. And even the point blank damage is quite shit on it. But apparently it's good with the buff banner. I think, is it buff banner? Can't remember, but the buff banner I think helps it because of the mini crits. It says 91 to 114 damage, which is almost the same as a rocket launcher at point blank. And it's almost as strong as medium range too. So yeah, a cowl angle, meh. I think it's okay. I think the Sentry one is kind of meh. The Liberty Launcher I'll put in probably C tier. Barely got any uses. Cowl angle, probably B tier. I wouldn't say it's like the worst thing ever. But it's certainly a gimmick, especially that like right click. It is nuts. The Beggar's Bazooka used to be very good, but I'd say I'm about A, B tier, I'd say. It's almost on A. But that's because of like the insane damage that it has and the projectiles are kind of all over the place. Airstrike, I'd actually put that in A tier. I quite enjoy the Airstrike, weirdly enough I'm not a fan of soldier weapons that much. The Airstrike can be fun. It's just when you rack up the kill streak and it gets a bigger clip and then you do the jumps and stuff. And also it's just as useful to use like the gunboats as well, paired with that. So it's very good. Shotgun. Ooh, shotgun's interesting because obviously multiple classes can use it. I think this is one of the few weapons that 4 classes can use. Got Soldier, Pyro, Heavy and Engineer. I'd have to put it in probably A tier. I'll put it in low A tier, I think. The reason is it's just fun to use. It's very satisfying when you land a shot. Not the best secondary / primary, but it's good backup, especially for like some of those weapons, as I said earlier. Like the airstrike and maybe the direct hit. Be great for that. Just good as a backup. And similarly the reserve shooter, it's really good for airborne targets, but it's not great anywhere else. It's just gimmick, so B tier. Buff banner, probably S tier. Buff banner is really strong, especially for your team, because that's the point of it. It's like a thing that helps your team. Government is a selfish thing, probably B tier. I'm not gonna lie, I think they need a buff. And that's probably too absurd, but I'm not 100% sure. It's just the damage it does to you is kind of shit. And it also just doesn't have any compensation for that. It's not really that balanced. It's a bit useless to use it, and oftentimes I see soldiers dying to it because they've rocket jumped too often. And that creates issues, and then they only use that, and then they fucking fail in an argument. It's just shit. Oh my god, it's bad. Yeah, so that's probably B tier. It's got its use, but not great. Battalion's backup, S tier. I fucking love the Battalion's backup because it protects on crits when you've obviously maxed it, and it can also help against sentries. So when you've got like a sentry block, if you can't necessarily charge an overcharge, you can charge a Battalion's backup instead, and that will get you through just as easily because it does 50% less damage. It's insane. And then I'll put that in S tier obviously, and then Contra I'll put in S tier as well because it provides a speed buff and healing, I believe. Manshred's probably B tier as a gimmick. Righteous Bison, it's going to be a surprise C tier. It's garbage. Base Jumper, very gimmicky, B tier. Panic Attack, I've rarely used it, but I'll probably put it in B tier, it's got its uses. Shovel, C tier. The Equalizer, what? Isn't there a second one? Oh yes, at the bottom for some reason. Equalizer, the damage one. Health, I'll probably put in C tier. It's pretty useless. If you're about to die, it's just, it's not good. It's only really good if you're mowing through someone, trying to get to a health pack, but nothing else. Pain Train, probably B tier. It's a very gimmicky thing, especially with the vulnerability, but it does increase capture rate, and paired with like a rocket jumper or sticky jumper, you get to the point quicker. I've done it before, I think. But I don't think you can actually capture the point on those, but even then, if you just use it with the standard launchers, because see those jumpers actually stop you from capturing, you still get there really quick. I've done it before. It's funny. Half Satoichi, B tier, gimmicky. Disciplinary Reaction, S tier. Market Gun, S tier. Escape Plan, probably S tier as well. They're all just solid melee weapons. Pyro, my god. Flamethrower. It's hard to say because I don't really like playing Pyro that much. I'll probably put it in probably B tier. I honestly don't think there's much going for it except for the deflects because it's definitely a niche. And then W plus M1, even though people hate it, it's because they just don't play it right. In fact, I counter so many Pyro pros because I know they can, when they reflect and stuff, and people think that's annoying. Like, you can't win. It's just stupid. And the same with the backbone, I'll put in B tier. Degreaser, probably A tier. It's very useful because of the fast speed when you swap and stuff. For Destinator, C tier. Even though it's got crits, it's really annoying. Frankly, one of the most overpowered W plus M1 things. And then Dragon's Fury, C tier. I never was a fan of Dragon's Fury. I tried using it and I couldn't like it. Too bad. And then we go on to the secondaries, Flare Gun. Flare Gun probably B tier. It's a very niche weapon. It can be good in the right hands, but not great. Detonator, C tier, is barely useful anymore. And Melter, what the fuck is this? C tier. Scalp Shooter. I'll put Scalp Shooter in S tier. I actually think it's a very interesting weapon because it sort of stops movement and it also does like 2 bouts of damage. So it's kind of interesting. And then the Thermal Thrust, ironically, I'll put in A tier. It's kind of funny actually. The fact you can just jump like everyone else, or at least the ones that can jump, it's kind of funny. And then pair that with like the Backburner or something, you're probably good to go with Backburner, Degreaser, even though Degreaser and Axe Extinguisher, that's good. Gas Pulsar, probably C tier, it's shit. And Standing Axe is shit. There's no gimmick to normal weapons. Extinguisher, probably A tier, it's a bit gimmicky, but it does work in the right hands. Home Wrecker, I actually really like. I put it in A tier though, because it is a gimmicky weapon. doesn't do much damage, but it does destroy like sappers on buildings. So if you're a spy checker, it's extremely good for that. Power jack, probably A tier again. Movement speed is good. Back scratcher, I can't remember what it does, so I can't really comment. So I don't know. Probably C tier. Sharpened volcano fragment, C tier. You've already got a fucking melee weapon that does that. Third degree, actually I'll put that in A tier because it's one of the best anti-pocket weapons there is, because it hits the medics that are healing the pocket guy, person, whoever. So it's really good. And then the Neon Annihilator, I'll put that in A tier as well because it's really good in water and specific scenarios, I believe. So it's quite fun. Hot Hand, it's just the same as a standard melee, just has a thingy, faster firing spray, and just, yeah, it just goes up there. And then Demo Man, grenade launcher, probably A tier. It's good in the right hands, same with lock and load. That'll be A tier as well. It's good against sentries, so I like that. Although, to be fair, it's probably better to use like sticky bombs, maybe it goes B tier. And then the booties, the bootlegger, and the Alibarbas, I put them in B tier. They're gimmicky, and especially if you're like a sticky bomber in the main, it's a bit annoying. Extra health is useful, but it's not great. It's not doing much for you. And loose cannon, probably A tier. It's very gimmicky, very fun. Base jumper, already rated it, but for demo it's kind of interesting. It can work. It's a good way to spam stickies and get to hard to reach places, like, and even sentries even. And then Iron Bomber. Base jumper for demo probably B tier though, because it's just a gimmick. Iron Bomber definitely, I'd say S tier, because it's kind of useful. It's a pseudo sticky bomb launcher, but it also does work well. It's kind of good in any situation, like the grenade launcher is. It's good for spamming into places, and even then if it doesn't land, it still lands something. Anyway, sticky bomb launcher. Probably A tier, it's just very good. It's always been reliable. Yeah, sometimes it's not great, and it can be a bit gimmicky, and crits are just so overpowered on it. It's a bit nuts, but Scottish Resistance, I actually think is underrated. I'd put it in A tier, but you just have to use it right. That's the thing with it. It's great for defense, but it's terrible for offense, potentially. And I think, because you could put 14 down, but I think the gimmick with it is that, but you can also detonate any ones you want, so you can be specific about it. You can set up multiple traps, like 3 in one spot and 3 in another, and the ranges are all the same, point blank, medium and long. You get all the same damage, I think, but it says 60 to 138, so I don't know what that means exactly. Also, why is it crit? Oh yeah, crit is fixed. Mini crits, so a bit weird. But I put that in A tier still. It's just very gimmicky. Charge and dodge, too gimmicky, I think, because the resistance is also a demonite thing. But I put in B tier. It's not great though compared to the others. Sticky jumper, very fun. S tier. Splendid screen. Ooh, I'll probably put it in A tier. Again, very gimmicky, but it works. Titurner, much better, S tier. Even though you don't get crits, it's still better. And then Cricket Bomb Launcher, I'd rarely use this, again because it's so recent. Just, I don't know, probably C tier. It's not great, I've never seen anyone use it either. And then the bottle, fun to kill with bottle, so probably A tier. You need your Scrumpy. Islander, some very interesting reskins. Islander, I'll probably put in like A tier, because if you do it well, if you utilise it well, you can get really good buffs from that. Like if you get 4 kills when you're using the same grenade launcher and sticky bomb, you get 205 HP, I think. What is it? Because it reduces HP by 25. Depends on what you use actually. If you use the boots, and you get up to like 230 or something, or 215 is it? You get extra health with it each kill. So yeah, A tier. Scotsman Skullcutter, I fucking hate playing against this, but using it is fun. But I'll put in B. Pain Train, same as before. Liverpool Caber, B. Dynamo, C. Satoshi, B. Persian Persuader, C. Like, again, there's so many weird weapons here that just don't work great. And then we get on to an interesting one, because I played quite a bit of heavy. Minigun. I really enjoyed the minigun, but I put it in A tier. Natasha, I'd say S tier. I really like the Natasha, it's underrated as hell. I've really enjoyed the Natasha because of the slowdown effect. It's really, it annoys teammates, not teammates, some enemies. It's kind of insane from that. The Brass Beast I put in A tier because it's actually a really good gimmick. Even though you're slow as hell, and it's not great against snipers, although you can survive a headshot with the resistance they added to it, same with Natasha. It's really good against certain crowds and chokeholds. And even though it's a gimmick, it's still effective even in some other scenarios, especially with a FFXIV. You know, you're gonna fuck everyone up with that. And it's like, it says 132 per 4 per bullet. What does that mean? I don't know. 3.24 per bullet. Okay. I don't know. Tomislav. That would have to be. I don't know. I'm sort of thinking A tier. It's a bit overrated, but I do think it's actually good still. Just the accuracy that's really good for it. Somehow the damage is higher. Don't know how. And the Hero Long Heater C tier, even though it's a gimmick, it's just not good. It's a good spy check, but not good for much else. I don't really see the point. It's also annoying. Next, the shotgun. Shotgun heavy is kind of effective, but useless. So I actually put heavy's version in C tier. It's not a good backup. Same with Pyro actually. I go in C tier. It's good primary, but terrible secondary. Especially if your main weapon's on like reload bound. So there's no point in using it. It's useless. And then you've got the Sandwich, which is easily S tier. It changes things. And Deluxe Chocolate Punch increases health a bit. Probably B tier, it's not great. Buffalo Steak Sandwich, barely useful. C tier. Panic Attack, same thing. It's not useful. Can't remember what the banana did. I think it was like a health increase or something. Or maybe it healed quicker, I can't remember, I can't rate that. Then obviously melee. This not great. Getting gloves of boxing actually gimmicky but work. I'll put that B tier though. Gloves are running urgently, A tier, it's good. They used to be better. Just marked you with mini crits for a bit. But that now, for some reason, it reduces HP. Warrior Spirit, C tier. Fist is still S tier. People will be surprised by that. But Fist is still actually kind of insane. If you're running away from someone who's shooting you, you can survive that most of the time with the Fist of Steel. They're actually really underrated. Eviction Notice, C tier. It's always been shit. I remember when it released, it was still bad then. Holiday Punch. But then A tier. It's an extremely gimmicky weapon, it's really funny, but that's about it. NG, Frontier Justice, skip the shotgun because I said it's good primary. What would Frontier Justice be? Because it makes crits for each kill on the sentry. It does the same damage as a shotgun, which is very interesting. Also you got guaranteed crits, but I don't know, it's probably about A tier. It's still effective. Widowmaker, B tier, it's too gimmicky in my opinion, even with the metal that you can get back from it. It's too high risk reward sometimes. Thompson, C tier obviously. Rescue Ranger, A tier, has always been good. Heals his sentry, takes it back, saves it. Panic Attack, not great. And not for a primary either. So ironically it's never good. The Panic Attack. So that'd be say like C tier. For NG, Pistol. Pistol doesn't make much sense, but as a backup I guess it works. You know, you go from shotgun to pistol and it works. So yeah, I guess it's like B tier though, because it's still weak. Wrangler, I wouldn't rate it highly anymore. It's great in NVM, but it's terrible everywhere else, because it's just a gimmick again. You rarely have use for it because it's much easier to just let your sentry do its job, and unless you can kill a spy fast enough to stop it from sapping the sentry, it's pointless. So yeah, it just doesn't work. So that probably goes in C tier with enough. Then the short circuit. Before it used to be very bad, but then they changed it and it became good, but it became too good and became annoying to play against. Unless you're smart, as I mentioned before, use something like what was it? The black box. Yeah, it's essentially useless. It was good, rather, not useless. It's useful, but too useful. So I'll put in B. I just don't like it that much. The wrench, obviously, is standard. Gunslinger's probably A tier. It's a great offensive because it increases HP and obviously gives you the mini sentry for fast building. It's great for that, but it's not good for anything else, not even defense. Unless you're like going remote, it's like you pair it with the Frontier Justice or something, and you probably get some crits. Southern Hospitality, nobody's ever used it. It used to be very good, but it's terrible. It's probably C tier. The Jag, A tier, is good to get faster buildings. And the attack interval too, but not great for sappers, that's the only problem. Eureka Effect, I've really used this. But I guess it's like a B tier because of the gimmick, it's good. Medic, oh my god, getting there. Syringe gun, C tier. It's really good if you can use it, but it's not great. Same with the Bolt Auger, it just heals you, C tier. Crusader's Crossbow, S tier. Very good healing, but very good offense as well. You can definitely do very well there. Almost wish there was a headshot system with it. And then finally the Overdose there. I can't remember what it does, but it's probably C tier anyway, because it's just shit. Medigun, I'd say B tier with enough, because I think the Uber gimmick is a bit overrated. It does its job, it keeps you invulnerable, but it doesn't do the job. As in, it will make you kind of weaker, because you have to build it up for so long. And even then, what do you use it on? Where do you use it? It's kind of pointless. It doesn't push you further, especially if there's sentries and stuff, so it doesn't help with that. And then the Kritzkrieg, I've maybe going to put in B tier, yeah. Kritzkrieg, A tier, because crits are very useful for pushing. I like the overheal, same with minigun, I like the overheal. But it takes a while to heal, same as the other, so not great. But yeah. So that's probably A tier. Then Quick Fix, S tier. Probably one of my favourite medic weapons, or healing things rather. Because it just heals so quick, and then you can just super heal in the exact moment you need to heal yourself and your allies. But it's really useful for that, and it can be the difference between pushing and not pushing, even from a gameplay perspective. Yeah, I've always enjoyed it, and the rocket jump as well, the sticky jump, fun. Vaccinator, it's very gimmicky, but when used right, it's about an A tier. It just suffers from slow healing like everything else, and also it does critical resistance. I don't remember that. It's useful against cheaters and snipers and stuff. And the Kritzkrieg, but only for select few players. Obviously you have full charges. I don't know, I might up it to an A tier if I haven't. Can't remember what I rated it, if I did. It's good. It's useful. Bone Saw, C tier, nothing useful. Ubersaw, S tier. Pretty much everyone uses it. Visasaw, C tier. Amputator, C tier again. Solid Valve, I don't know what the difference is. I think it's a reskin. But that's it shows you the nameplates and their health, I think. It's still not good, because you rarely use it, so C tier. Sniper. I barely played Sniper, so I can't comment much on it. Default sniper, probably B tier, not that satisfying. Nice. Oh my god, there are some foxes doing the clicking noises. I think they're arguing. That's funny. I did hear them making noise earlier. Wondered if it was a fox. Anyway, yeah, sniper rifle B tier. It's just default and it's good in the right hands, especially if you're fat magic, but not great, much health. Huntsman, really annoying, but really gimmicky, not fun. I've never had fun with it. B tier does work. Sydney Sleeper, actually I've had much more fun with this. Because fun fact, it kind of helps you kill the enemies quicker. If you can land body shots, it's like the body shot weapon. Because it covers them in durability, but Sydney Sleeper is probably A tier for me. I've always enjoyed it. It's just funny. Just covering your enemy with piss constantly. Bizarre Bargain. I don't remember how to use this, but I think it's probably a B tier. I can't remember what its gimmick was now. Something to do with headshots, I believe. I wasn't say 2 types of damage, but it's the same thing. I don't know. What is it like NA damage? I'm confused by this wiki. I don't know. I can't remember. But the Machina I love because of the extra damage, but also the penetrations. Whenever that fucking appears in chat, you're screwed. But yeah, it's probably an S tier for me. I actually like the Machina. The gimmick and the trade-off is worth it. So it's very useful. I especially like it for the chokeholds and stuff. It's great there. Hitman's Heatmaker, barely used it. B tier. It's probably good though. The like zoomed in, increased charge headshot thing. And the classic C tier. It's always been bad. It's always hard to use. And then we go into secondaries. SMG. I'd actually put the SMG somewhat higher after seeing Fat Magic's video. It's got a gimmick to it for sure. It's a much better gimmick than just the durability because it then gives you a backup like for close range. And I didn't really realise that before, but it actually does kind of work. So probably put in A tier. It's a bit better than pistol, I can tell you that much. But Cleanest Carbine probably lower, probably C tier because it just doesn't have any use. I don't think. I can't even remember what it does now. I tried to look at the wiki. So I think those foxes shit themselves. Spelling something foul out there. Where is the stats for his weapon? Oh, there it is. Okay. On the right. Secondary fire charges grants mini crits. Didn't damage feels charge meter. It depends on how the charge meter feels. If it's through sniper damage, like rifle, then it's good. But if not, it's not good. Anyway, that's a good B tier, I guess. Durability. Probably A tier, it's still useful, but it's not great. I think it could be with enough a bit better, but I don't know how to improve it exactly. Razorback, too gimmicky, C tier. Everyone should know to look behind them will keep their backs against the wall to avoid spies. Even then they use a revolver for the smart. Domino's Danger Shield, I remember that when they used to stop headshots on you for some reason. They gave you like extra health, not good though. C tier. Now obviously. Cozy Camper, C tier again, too gimmicky. Then the Melees, Cookery, C tier. It's decent, I guess, but it's not anything special. Shotgun Shiv. I don't know actually, Shotgun Shiv. It's hard to say because it's just there for the bleeding, so probably C tier. It's not a good gimmick either, it's too niche. Bushwhacker paired with the durability is quite strong, so it'd be B tier I suppose. It's too gimmicky, and the Shahansha, never used it. So it has that range damage, so you can like one shot Demon Man if it crits, depending on the factor. I'm not sure. Spy, in regard to these revolver, pretty shit, C tier. Ambassador B tier is gimmicky, can work, but not great. Lit Ranger, probably S tier. The extra cloak thing is useful, even though it's not too bad to use. Enforcer B tier, very gimmicky. Diamondback, very annoying but very strong, probably A tier. So extra damage can be difference. Then the knives, knife just is standard. I won't put it too high, it's probably like a B tier now. Your Eternal Reward, I don't know, it's a hard one, but I think it's too gimmicky as well. Just depending on the team you're against, it can really be useful, it can really be useless. If you can pull it off, it's good. If you can't, it's bad, so probably B tier. Corona's Kunai. Where would I put that? Because obviously it's like the most used weapon, but it's also really shit. I'd probably put in B tier. Big Armor, it can be useful, but the lack of health also doesn't help. So probably B tier again, with enough I don't like Spy. But the Spy score is actually good. It's useful for situations, so A tier. Watches, standard ones are actually kind of A tier. They just work. And then Cloak and Dagger, A tier as well. Dead Ringer, B tier. Dead Ringer is not as useful as it used to be. It's a bit overpowered too, and so it's a bit annoying. Also, there's only two thingies, two sappers. God, that really stinks. I need to do something about that. Yeah, that's me. This sucks like wine. I don't know what it is. It's awful. One of the worst smells I've ever fucking smelled. Yeah, Sapper standard is actually okay. It's not great. I've never enjoyed much sapping. Can be good, but needs to be efficient with it, I guess, and smart. So probably B tier. And the red tape recorder, just annoying but not useful enough. B tier. It's a shame they didn't add more sappers, but that's my tier list anyway. Just off the fly. Seeing the stats and familiarising myself with it. Thought this would be interesting because of again that seeing this seeing German play this again. I don't have time to edit a video today. I'm too busy tomorrow anyway, and I'm tired. But yeah, that's it. So for people who are interested, so let's move on. So yes, I recently heard about that fake rescue thing, and I've heard about this before as well. Just in the context of everything that's basically happened over the last few years, but it seems like also there's a really cool sword. It just feels like everything's going to shit in terms of like the rescue spaces, because genuine rescues are like rare now, because everyone makes a profit off faking rescues, which is annoying as fuck, and YouTube probably doesn't do anything about it anyway, which is just even more shit. So it doesn't help. But this rescue thing involved someone called Jamie, who she was rescuing as supposedly a baby turtle from a dumpster, and according to her it's from a different pet store nearby, but apparently it's a pet store away from it, so like not even in the vicinity. And apparently the turtle was actually from a breeder, and it's just a crazy fucking story. But I have to mention myself genuinely caring more about animals than people like Charlie and I'm trying to think of other people, but you know, there's other people out there caring more about them than most other people. I have to mention nobody in this situation is right at all, and the evidence for this is just through experiences I've seen, like the Dominion documentary for example, which highlights the pet industry briefly, and it is quite horrific the way that we treat animals. And even then, the rescue debunking content I've seen is actually, it does expose a lot of the bullshit here that we are seeing. Admittedly, it's not to this degree where someone is actively trying to damage what is technically a bad pet store anyway, because the fact is a pet store is terrible. But this is kind of the issue. It doesn't exactly help the argument when you lie about things, so that's never a good sign. I think that's generally a dangerous thing, and if this lady Jamie was actually genuinely caring for animals, then she would have to do the right thing in the end, because in my opinion you do need to be genuine about these things, because if you're lying you're not going to have much evidence, you're not going to prove much, and you're not going to help the animals. And that's the worst part, the fact you're not helping animals. And liars can often be traced back anyway. The only ones that get away with it are those who don't get analysed like this, who don't have the flaws revealed. And if we were to take said pet stores and breeders at their word, I would be questioning them as well, their validity, because it seems like they're trying to attack her for reasons to protect their own business, which is a common tactic among industries that exploit animals. Which is why I bring this up. They're all in the wrong in their own ways, and their reputations are essentially bad because they're just bad by default. If you see what they do, pet stores commonly, if they're breeding animals, they will dispose of them when they're not profitable. You know, they take them out the back, fucking kill them, put them in a dumpster. They're discarded, literally like discarded food, discarded clothing or plastics. They're treated exactly like objects and a means for profit. And yes, a pet store can say like, oh, well, we treat our animals right. They all say that, even the ones that have done bad things. So again, this is fucking false. I won't take their word for it at this point. So no, there's nothing there to validate, yeah. Sometimes I forgot the word. There's nothing there that can validate that claim. It's just terrible. And these businesses shouldn't even exist anyway, because again, it's a life that's on the line here. It's an animal, not a fucking piece of plastic. A literal fucking animal. I get if someone maybe did for like a, not necessarily a joke, but you know, just something as an alternative, but like a fake pet store where they sell like plushies and they sell whatever it is, like figurines, they sell like different sort of things like that, all without harming animals, and that's fine. But obviously that doesn't exist as far as I'm aware. It'd be cool though, not gonna lie, it'd be nice. But yeah, again, this is the issue we encounter here. And then with the breeders, obviously, there can be some very bad reputation among them. They do the similar things the pet stores do, not to mention lock them in tight spaces and tend to treat them again as a means to make money. This is exactly why I bring this up. But the situation doesn't bring any credibility towards pet stores at all. There's nothing to do with that, and fake rescuers especially. I think we should be being cautious with rescuers, because frankly, if they're doing it for content and doing it for profit, there's nothing good to come out of it, and even them for lying, it's just not good either. But I suppose this claim also rings true for something, because people say I'm not biased because I don't eat animal products, but the same probably applies to animal agriculture as well. If we're accusing certain industries or certain places for doing these things without solid evidence, then we're doing a disservice to the animals in those terrible situations. So it goes both ways, and it shouldn't slide, because that's just false information. It's like if, for example, an animal rights activist like I watch occasionally, like say Viva Charity or Joey Carbstrong or even like Danny Cliche, if they spread like misinformation about any sort of like animal agriculture, you know, I'll be the first to call them out on it, because that is just blatant misinformation. But the misinformation doesn't serve to help animals, and that's the point here. Because when it's easily disprovable, like supposedly this situation, is, but I'm not 100% sure myself, then you're not doing them a service. Again, it's going against your very core belief. So it's not worth even lying about it to even score like good boy points or anything. And that's why the situation is so frustrating and sad. And again, I hope people don't take it as pet store good. It was never fucking good. Especially if you've seen like reptile stores as well, like they're genuinely awful. You know, there's a reason why there's a saying called adopt, don't shop. That's because shops are fucking terrible for animals. The supply and demand keeps them alive, and then keeps the puppy killings from happening, basically child killings, but for animals. And it's fucking bad. I just don't understand that shit. Like why people would support him, why they even go that far, and even then, like the temptation, people need to understand that just because it's a puppy and it's very fucking cute, you don't need to fucking buy an animal for that. Fucking rescue one. Get a rescue, adopt an animal. That's far better, because every time you buy one, more die. That's what happens in these industries. It's like the best way you can look at it. And that's just a harsh reality. So again, I'm quite sickened by this. It is so disgusting. Anyway, I don't really have anything else to add, I don't think, so I shall move on in a second. I know the times. I'm just busy farming these guys here in Final Fantasy. Yeah, so let's move on. So, I saw a frustrating short video. I was exposing rather, it's called the worst Karen ever, but honestly, the reaction, I would have said it's like half valid. The other half not really. But it sort of goes into this discussion around looks and dating. And this guy was like, I think 5 feet or something, and he seemingly struggled with dating essentially, and this is specifically dating on dating platforms where women would basically apparently ignore him because he's short. And you know, this accusation probably happens a lot towards women, where it's like people don't want to literally, but basically the reaction is like women don't actually want to date men who don't look good, and I think that's a half truth, because there are definitely women out there like that, but there are also women out there who are not like that at all. It's just unfortunate, because I think usually what people are looking for is introverted women, and I think introverted women are very rare. I hate to say it as if it's like a Pokemon game, but it kind of is. Gotta catch them, but I can't do that. But that is just all the reality. You don't really ever meet introverted women often, and the dating apps create a very unrealistic expectation where they may mislead you into thinking that you might actually be able to win at some point, be able to find a woman who essentially is going to date you. And as I've been on dating apps myself, sadly, both for men and women, to be clear, it's easier to find men than it is women. And it kind of sucks in a way, but at the same time it's also great, because I think, as far as I've heard from like dating men, it's much better, because men tend to be more empathetic and tend to understand what your boundaries are. It depends on the man, obviously, but there definitely are creeps in there, I will tell you that. But some are genuinely nice, and it's meeting those people. But the best types of people you can meet, both for men, women, or non-binary or other, is just through community and like-mindedness. Literally, this is better than dating apps, and this has actually been how I've made all my relationships, essentially. You know, other than school. School I had about 2 or 3 relationships. Then obviously in adulthood I had 2. first one was better, but the second one not so much, but it's just more of a miscommunication, and it's just generally not something worth, trying to find issues about, because I think it's like both mistakes there. But I think it's important to bring this up, and I think dating apps are genuinely awful, because they create a very unrealistic expectation of what's supposed to happen, but it doesn't happen. Then they monetize the supposed solution, thinking that, oh, maybe if people pay, it will mean that they get to have a chance at dating, finally. Maybe lose their virginity, as was my case, very selfishly. And it never worked, I can tell you that much, just from an anecdotal perspective. But I also think that you just meet a lot of weirdos on there too. I've heard horror stories on that. As I said, it's like weirdos in like the men's spaces, but weirdos in women's spaces too. You do encounter them. They exist, but they're not common. This is the thing. It's not an easy situation to have. And dating apps, again, create a very unrealistic expectation that you have to be successful on a dating app to date women, but that's not the case at all. I can assure people that. Again, follow those steps, find a community, find like-mindedness, and you'll find the right person. Because it's those common goals, those common beliefs, where you'll find that difference. Crazy how I'm multitasking this shit. Just revive someone whilst doing the mechanics. I was paying attention. Yeah, basically, that's what it is. And I think people need to do that. But as for the short-kind question, yes, there is kind of an issue around appearances being a big factor. Again, I hate to say it because it sounds like I'm very demeaning towards women or just people in general, because it can be meant to. But that can happen. Again, it's harsh, but it does and can happen. And people need to stop ignoring it, stop saying that it's not. And then, unfortunately, I see both men and women scapegoating it to, oh, they're just conservative men. And holding that experience is not making you conservative. Because it isn't like conservative men always. In fact, what you're experiencing is an influx of extroverted people, which tend to be conservative men anyway, messaging you en masse, saying these fucking horrible things, saying that maybe you belong in the kitchen, maybe they only want sex or something. They're just being these real creeps. But that's nothing to do with the political belief. It just is like extrovert men, but it can be to do with that. And again, commonly, those who are less polite, those who are more sort of out there speaking and stuff, they're more likely to be these conservative men that you speak of, and you're using that as the experience to judge introverted men, where introverts typically won't have that issue. At least in my experience, I've met introverted men, and they've not been conservative arseholes. It's extremely rare in my case. Even then, I met older people who obviously are looking for a relationship, being gay or bisexual, but they haven't been arseholes. If anything, there's just a bit of creepiness here and there, a bit of a boundary issue, but that's it. Most of them are nice, and again, it depends on the person. And then using this red herring straw man, well, I think it's both actually technically, using them to justify this, to say that women aren't the problem, it's just fucking wrong. But it's also wrong to blame women in this sense too, because it's the conservative men, the extroverts, that make it worse for women. And then they conflate it, the experiences that people don't have. Well, I've almost never been messaged by another woman on a dating app on 5+ that I've used over the years. And, people, like women, blame that on men being conservative, when I'm like the least fucking conservative man there is. I've been so transparent about who I am, what I do for a living, and it never drew any attention. It's like I've been ignored. And this is why I'd stopped dating to begin with. I'm just better in my own mind than I am obviously having a relationship, and I thought about it and I don't want a relationship anymore. I figured this out years ago. Because it's really getting me down. Just wondered why I couldn't find someone, even men. And it just resulted in that conclusion. There was no easy solution there. I had to change and just try to be a single person. As I tried to be a single person, but weirdly enough, that's when people liked me more. Because it shows like a change of attitude, I think, and shows that people tend to view you differently there. But again, I don't like these red herrings, and short person, like again, it's a half truth. There is definitely a claim there. There is a lot of like things like parental advice, basically saying date a tall, rich man. I remember that very specifically from some of the parts of my family, and it's very disgusting to have that attitude because it means that men like me, men like this short person, if he was a nicer person anyway, they won't get to see a live day because they're judged based on appearance and they're judged based on class as well, when that is not the way to go. So everyone is guilty of something here, and that's the point I'm trying to make. It's not worth pointing fingers when the fingers are in all directions. It's fucking pointless, and this doesn't make the guy a Karen. Again, it's a valid point to say that dating apps don't give you the desired result. I think that's true. And that doesn't make him a Karen, but I think making a public scene about it obviously is wrong. That's definitely not the way to go about it. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else there is. Conventions. Yeah, again, it's a really harsh reality, but I think we need to have this discussion again as like, well, human beings. I was going to say people, but that is human beings. But again, fingers in all directions. It's not just one, it's all of them. So always keep that in mind. Anyway, let's move on. So, I figured I might explain this myself. Well. People might wonder why the hell I'm going with an AMD graphics card for the build. Again, and I've already explained it a bit, but there is another thing to add to it. Some of the reasons I don't really agree with NVIDIA on most things, and they're already giving up on the gaming aspect. So, like, what the fuck are they even going to do? As far as I know, AMD hasn't got any plans for AI. I know they are invested in it, but they're not like full frontal, facial, Cleveland video card or something like that. I don't know. They're not doing all that with the AI shit, but they're still bad. And the point is, it's like going with a lesser evil. However, if we judge things from a how likely are they to do X thing, I think NVIDIA are likely to, hence like the trading cards which they've announced, which suck, and obviously more money. But if they're more likely to do those things, then what else are they willing to do? How low will they go? Literally is the question. And I think they will go pretty low. I think they'll force people to pay a subscription to access their video card and maybe their hardware. And compared to AMD, who don't have as many services as NVIDIA does, I think AMD is just a safer choice for at least a video card. I think that's like a massive danger. I don't know exactly what NVIDIA would be trying to do with like a subscription, but it's quite concerning. And then they'll also do something dumb, like maybe like rent a card or something, or rent a system where people will be able to earn money or something by giving their systems to be played on a cloud through like a service of theirs, only for a massive hack to happen and then cards to get exploited. And then even with something else recently, like the AI drivers that they keep pushing out and breaking my fucking RTX 570, I'm not hopeful for NVIDIA in the slightest. And even though there's a part of me that wants to invest in one of their cards, maybe the 5080 or 5070 at a stretch, just for gaming purposes and obviously like 3D stuff if I ever get into that, when I get into that rather. That's what I'm thinking of with this, and I don't want to go super high end, but the problem is there's not many things out there to get, because I think all the video cards are basically gone, like the RTX 40 series. If I look this up on shopping, what comes up on the start page? So like 4060 there, 8GB, that sucks, so that's not good for me. 4060 Ti, that's the server, so that's too expensive. RTX 3060, 12GB, that's too expensive as well. Again, all of these are just insanely expensive, and even the RTX 5050 here, 8GB is not enough, so still that's out of the question. There's a 5070 Ti that's almost 900 quid, and yeah, 16GB of memory, nice. And this is kind of the thing with this, again, there's not much choice in terms of older generations, and even then new generations barely cut it. They barely make it to those levels, and I wonder what the AMD stuff is like. So RX video cards, what comes up here? RX 7900, 24GB, that's good, but it's from Alibaba. There's RX 9070 from Curry's, not good, even though that's technically the one I'm getting. RX 7600 from a random site I've never heard of, 8GB of memory though. Yeah, we just skim for choice, and there's no other options, to be honest. I want to go with something less overkill, but I don't have a choice, especially when it comes to 1440p gaming. There's not really much other avenues to go down, and I've even looked into the possibility of a third-party video card maker, and I've seen a video on this actually. It's very interesting. Someone made a build out of entirely non-NVIDIA and AMD parts, and I think non-Intel as well, and managed to get it gaming, but at very low resolution and graphics settings. So overall, not very great for that. So it does struggle. And again, there's like no other options. Like that's what you get. 1080p gaming versus 1440p. It's just not great. And that's really the issue here. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say, what else to add. But there's a massive problem here when it comes to this shit. You need to see changes here, otherwise it's just going to get worse, I think. Anyway, let's move on. Well, I think the fuck's sake, I've just paused the volume freeze frame. Oh, that's funny. I felt like talking about this because of Final Fantasy XIV. I've been playing a bit of Sage. I've been playing so many different roles this week because of the patch, and the absurd relic weapon grind also sort of makes sense as long as it's repeatable, obviously, with mathematics and doesn't require a stupid upgrade. But I've been playing Sage, and there's been this thought around my head about the role of like cardia, and I wonder if the way that players use it is actually the correct way, because depending on this scenario, you don't often always need to use it. Like, for example, I'm here in this raid, and this is a perfect example where you don't actually need to use it on a tank, because what actually needs to happen is you need to help heal the recently revived allies. So obviously like only the 8 here, but that's what you should use it on instead, and put it obviously close to your binds and don't leave it on the tank, because the tank isn't always going to be tanking, if that makes sense. And for the boss even, it doesn't require much anyway, so all the healing is going to waste. So in my opinion, I think that cardia should be applied to allies other than the tank. The tank is like the one you need at least, except for maybe Shunryu and Real. But that's like a use case, and maybe there's even raids and extreme trials that need it, or Criterion dungeons. I don't know play them, to be fair. But I think this is exactly the use case, and I think people are really playing Sage wrong. I could be wrong, but to me, this is how I play it, and it's honestly really cool because it does a much better job at healing. Even though you've got your instant abilities and stuff to use there, it's just far better to heal via at least using cardia. Again, putting that on someone else each time. But again, that's just my opinion. And I think it has a really good use case there. Honestly, really useful. I can only really hope that players perhaps try that, because maybe there is something there. I think it would be great to see if they do that. There would be awesome use, and also make players even better, make everything go better. Because on top of that, I would have to add that it does support the team enough that you can make a comeback on things in a weird way. Yeah, I think it's just such a good thing anyway. Just wondering exactly if players know that, because it feels like they don't know. And that's what worries me as well, because sometimes the way you play isn't exactly the right way. Admittedly, I don't know what the point of Dance's 16 seconds is. I don't know why there's that. I still can't figure it out, even look at the ability tooltips. It just doesn't seem to be anything there. So it's very weird in that sense. But I really think there is a need for just changing the way you play, being more strategic and stuff. Like, for example, with the global cooldown stuff, like Dance's dancing thing. I forgot what it's called now. Technical step. I think that might be what it's called. But even then, Searing Light with Summoner and the Red Mage one. I can't remember the name. But with cooldowns like that, I try to space it because you can't stack them. Although Red Mage is actually fine, but some don't stack. Dance's one definitely doesn't stack, I don't think. It's really annoying given the amount of time it takes anyway. But yeah, I try to be very strategic about that, especially some of Searing Light. Because the Searing Light seems to not stack properly, which is incredibly frustrating. So I always try to think ahead like that with this game and all the abilities in it. And it's not a matter of like being a tryhard or anything, it's not anything like that. It's not what it looks like. Except maybe it does look a bit like that. I just think there are ways to like optimize things more in favour of difficult content as well. And I wouldn't call this difficult content, but it can be if you're with new players. I think that can be a challenge at times, for sure. Certainly, it's doable. Yeah, I don't know what else to add, and also I need to fucking be careful on this mechanic. Jesus, oh, that's too close. For some reason, I hate these area of effect things. They really attack too close, in my opinion. They insta-kill you too quickly and too close. Always really annoying. Yeah, I think I shall move on in a second. We do a dance room thing. There you go. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, at this point, I just think it's going to be a constant twist in this story about my computer and designing, because it's looking like things will just constantly change. And I discovered recently there's a white HYPERSKY case, and I was specifically looking for a case like this for a while. And the only reason is my computer is in the, like, sort of in the view of the sun. Like, it is literally on a south-facing window, but I don't really have much choice in that, sadly. I was thinking, as an alternative, I could just go like a full HYPERSKY RGB. Don't want to go for the Ambience Pro, to be honest. A bit more expensive. But the front RGB fans would be nice, but I figured why not just go for a white case, like I wanted. Because that makes the most sense to me. Because I've never really had a white case before. It's not really been on my radar, but it's something that interests me nonetheless. I think it'd be really cool to have. And obviously, having that would be kind of interesting because, you know, it's just like a first build as well. It would be a bit easier to manage it, I think. Also, the only problem is the power supply. I didn't realise actually. But then again, it's just got black on it anyway. Like, it's just going to have black and white to begin with, so it's not really a big deal, and I'm not even fussed about getting the whole lighting inside. It's no big deal, and even though I don't like the tempered glass sort of aspect, I hope there's a way to perhaps interchangeably use that. But this just makes more sense. I could be missing something here, but this seems better, and even then I could get an NHG 15 pack, obviously G2, Generation 2, and I added an extra fan there, but a white fan this time, an Arctic B12 120mm. Yeah, I think it is interesting. I've never really considered this aspect before. It would be pretty cool to have, I think. Certainly with like this, and also get like white RAM kits, which would be interesting as well. Again, I could mix and match the hardware, like get black and white. And one of the things that sort of is going to inspire me to make this is knowing the fact that I can possibly mod it as well. As I've seen some sort of one of those videos by Nerdforged where I can't remember the pronoun, sorry. They make the build with, I think it's like a height case, and put in like vines along the top, which is really cool. And vines are probably the best place to have the on top, I mean, even dangling a bit downwards. It's also don't get in the way of the fans and stuff, but it sort of leaves that potential for modding. And the size of the case as well is good enough, I think, to see things in there. I wonder what the length of the GPU is. I said that. I wonder if it says like the space, dimensions. Yeah, that's not very helpful. I don't know. It would be very interesting. Why is it saying Newegg? We don't have a Newegg in the UK, do we? Hang on. No, we don't. So why is it showing that? That's fucking stupid. It's showing scan, but we don't have Newegg. Weird. Yeah, as I said, this isn't like an all-out build. I'm not going full RGB. Never really intend to do that. I just want to see rather build a case that is to my liking, and this is exactly it. So I think I'm going to pivot towards this one instead. So getting a white RAM kit, which honestly won't be bad anyway if I do end up getting the original version. But it's also a little bit, it's the same price actually. It's, like, for the price as well, for a bit of RGB, it's not too bad. And the same for the Noctua, like, and it's not too bad of a case scenario here, I don't think. Yeah, it will be interesting, regardless. I just want to update people on that. I think there's certainly a lot of potential here. Let's see something good happen, I suppose. Yeah. let's move on. I've been think very much. I've been thinking about what exactly it is about computing that scares me the most, and this just goes back to the operating system, because the hardware is like the least of my issues, weirdly enough. But software is like a bigger one, because it used to be about hardware, but I started to get over that. Because with hardware, it came from my old PC, the first proper gaming PC I ever had, and how it just started fading over time. This is at the time I had a GTX 970 when there were 1080s out there. And I was dreaming of like a 1080 and an i7 5700, I think it was, at the time, 5900, 4900 actually, for the other one. I was only dreaming of that, because that's all you can dream of at the time. That's all we had. But now it's like, there's so many considerations in these, that even software becomes something that you have to consider. And that's why I initially made the discussions about Linux, because I wanted to find an alternative to Windows. I fucking hate Windows. It's insufferable. It still is, and I think it always will be. But I started to think recently about what can be done, because if I don't want to go to Windows and I don't want to go to Linux, what option is there? This leaves me with no choice, really, which is the shit part of this, to be honest, because there isn't anything else. It's unfortunate. So I don't exactly know, like, the best solution here. Because yeah, obviously I don't want to move to either. Linux doesn't have Windows backwards compatibility, and Windows is just shit. So both are terrible. This is the thing, there's no good operating system out there. Even phone operating systems are shit. I hate Android. I hate Apple as well, iOS, it's just terrible. And it's because of the issues that pop up around it. It's just the many things that can happen. And that bothers me a lot when it comes to operating systems. Like, there's so much jank on it, there's so much bugginess, there's so many things that are just not very well exactly like executed and explained. I remember the transition to iOS from iOS to Android, and I was just like, throughout the entire time I was just troubleshooting, and this isn't good at all. It's really frustrating, and because of that it led to a bad experience, and it almost made me go back to iOS. I stuck through, thankfully, but there was a time, many times, where I thought maybe I need to go back, but luckily I didn't. And I kind of wondered maybe it would be the same if I do that with Linux, but I also don't think that's how it's going to work, because there's going to be so much more to deal with, unlike phones where you only have to deal with like 2 or 3 things at a time. Like, yes, believe it or not, that's how often I end up diagnosing things on my phone. Mainly not these days, but it used to be. Used to be having to figure out some sort of issue, some sort of solution to the issue. It just got incredibly annoying. And this is the issue. It's very complicated, and that's what also dictates whether something is good or accessible or not. I really think it's a very annoying aspect of computing. The less we have to deal with in software, the better, and I can sort of see why the enshittification on Windows was a thing. But at the same time, it's also harmed those who stuck around with it, and that makes me start to think, why didn't they just make other versions? Because from what I could tell, the home version versus pro version is basically no different, bar a few extra settings, but not the settings that you care about. So what the fuck are Microsoft doing? They've missed a golden opportunity to make more revenue and create an operating system that people can be happy with. Imagine gaming Windows. as an operating system. That would be revolutionary. And on top of that, I'd have to add the, unfortunately with like Linux, like unfortunately the creator's an idiot, I think. But you know, you have so many opportunities there to get Linux developers on board to optimize for gaming and make it somewhat worthwhile. And I don't know why exactly Windows hasn't done something like this, like support Linux to have Windows backwards compatibility, or even then just get revenue from their systems so that you can actually play Windows, like have a license or something associated with a Linux distro so you can literally, you know, do Linux as you would, but Windows. It's got Windows stuff on it. You can play the executables, use the executables rather, you can play whatever games it was, and whatever software, even drivers. And I think that's like a missed opportunity. I could be wrong, maybe don't know enough about this than I should. I also think that it is important to have that, to have the compatibility aspect on board there. That you really do need that to exist, because that's what's stopping people from going to Linux, and then that's what's making people dislike Windows as well. Not to mention, I dislike Windows because of the lack of Linux, like cross-compatibility sort of stuff. It sounds silly, but that is real. It's reality. So I don't exactly know what the solution there. But yeah, as I said, it's annoying. I don't really know what they're thinking with this. It feels like trying to get the get something to do with what's it? Something psychologically you're trying to figure out with Windows. That's always what it seems to be as well. You go to sound settings. I remember the sound settings used to be just, you know, you go to the sound settings and control panel. Control panel used to be a thing. Don't know if people remember that. And that'll tell you adjusted the audio, but now you have to go through several fucking avenues, or even just control panel itself, which thankfully they kept. It's just so annoying. So many stupid things about this operating system that just don't make sense. So why not just release other versions? Ones that are more catered towards gamers, towards production, towards no AI. Or just give the option when you install Windows. Simple. Debloat it the moment it's on there. Then you would have more revenue and stop people from going to Linux. Because that is the biggest thing, and then make it cheaper. Have affordable versions. It's just so stupid to me how Windows is just consistently fucking up on every front. It's so bad. There's no reason for it. That's the thing I don't get about it. They don't have to do this, and yet they do. They go through with it. They force AI onto your fucking throat, rape you with it. I might as well say it for what it is. And they just defile you. They molest you. And the same as with Linux. It's like, Linux is probably an abusive parent. And Windows is like the sexual harassment. That's the equivalent in this situation. Literally. Like, it's not inaccurate at all. Like, sue me. I don't have fucking money, so good luck. But it's just so fucking bad. That's what these situations equate to. So why not just make another operating system? That's what I'm wondering, and then fund studios specifically for that purpose. So you literally have that scenario that people can go into. Again, maybe don't make Windows, make doors. Like the bigger brother of Windows, and have it be more for professionals and people not working with AI. So like that, or even then just gaming. Maybe it's like Windows Electric or something, I don't know. There has to be some sort of naming scheme that's fucking witty and clever. Maybe I'm not realising. but it just would be so much better than what we currently have. That's what consistently disappoints me in Windows. I remember Windows 8, that wasn't good. I didn't like it at all, to be fair. And I remember Windows 10, and that just came out and nobody liked it either. I didn't like it, it did its job, but didn't like it either. And I miss Windows 7. That's one of the things I noticed when I started on Windows 8. I just missed Windows 7 a lot, because Windows 7 wasn't forcing this shit down your throat again. Again, like the situation I equated it to. I've been there, so don't say it's inaccurate. Yeah, this is literally what it is. It's just gross, and that's what a lot of this it feels like now. So I don't really understand the logic when it comes to this shit. It's just so dumb. Again, I don't understand Microsoft's logic here. Again, they're ruining their own platform, and that's what's going to kill the operating system essentially. And at a certain point, when you start to really fuck people over, everyone's just going to jump to Linux. That's what happens when this happens. And you look at the distributions and stuff of these things, like I'm trying to think. There's distributions of like Windows and stuff, and how many users use that. And then look at Linux, and Linux is consistently climbing over the years. And even then, macOS is pretty irrelevant because nobody likes macOS. I didn't like it when I used to use it in school. I fucking hated it. It's awful. Like, easily one of the worst operating system, worse than Windows, in my opinion. So, thank fuck I'm not even using that. Again, so many things here are just not fit for purpose and not useful. Just terrible in so many different ways. And I can only hope Windows funds other studios, or whatever you call them, manufacturers or developers, to create a better operating system or an alternative operating system. It's a simple solution. Hire Linux developers. Win. That's it. That's all you need to do. You complete fucking morons. So yeah, I don't know if they'll take that voice on board. Hopefully they do. I'm happy to see that happen. Again, I don't want to end up in this situation where it's the abusive father or the sexual harassment. Anyway, let's move on. Well, this is surprising. Not the thing I was going to make, sure. Although there was something I was going to discuss, but I can't remember what it was. I've probably already done it, actually. Yeah, I think I have, actually. Yeah, there's all the Windows stuff. No, this is about music. So I'm listening to Braided Productions and all his full covers, and obviously there's some great stuff there, some really good stuff. I'm really surprised by some of it. But I'm listening to Wherever in the style of Sepultura, and I thought, do I know this track? And it turns out I do. It's literally the one that's on the radio. Well, it used to be on the radio all the fucking time. I'm pretty sure it still is. But it's called Wherever, obviously, by Shakira. So of course. But then there's the other track. Literally similar sort of vibe and lyrics, I think. But it's there's a guy going like Shakira, hips don't lie, that's it. I think. Yeah, I think it is. I'm trying to memorise that, re-memorise. But anyway, I'm looking at the Shakira track here, Wherever, and it's almost at 1 billion views. What the fuck? Like, there are a few videos on YouTube, I think, that are at 1 billion views, but this is surprising. Because I feel like it's a very underheard track, but somehow it is somehow heard. It is crazy. Yeah, like where the hell this came from? Then there's suggestions. Michael Jackson's Billie Jean is at 2.2 billion views. I'm genuinely surprised. I just felt like mentioning it because when it comes to the most popular videos ever, one of the first ones to my memory happened years ago, and that was Gangnam Style by Psy, obviously. I can't remember what the other ones were, but they definitely existed. I think there was like a Queen track there somewhere in the top, which is great. More Queen out there. But I don't know. It's surprising anyway, a track from, well, radio times, when everyone, but they still do probably listen to radio, but I think most people are opting for Bluetooth these days, so it doesn't really get us listened to. It wouldn't surprise me if we start to see radio sort of go out of fashion as obviously the older generations start disappearing and the newer ones come in, assuming there is a future anyway. That's another topic entirely, not a dystopia, but thankfully this sort of music brings me back. It's a nice hearing nostalgia, and I certainly remember this track. It's just a long forgotten one. And I thought I'd heard it and known every track from what I've heard in childhood, but no, I haven't. It turns out there's still some missing. And it makes me wonder what else there is. I'm genuinely curious. It's just, yeah, well, it's very interesting. I don't really have anything else to add. I kind of like highly vouch for Minute Productions getting to listen to the full covers of these tracks, and obviously just hearing these songs for the first time is just very interesting. Yeah, also great covers. They say you can't imitate your favourite artist, but literally somehow Braided Productions always does it. It's fucking nuts. It just almost perfectly mimics the voices. But as I've heard every cover though, to be fair, I do start to hear his voice in this, and I don't know, like, it's still really good though, I can't fault it at all. But yeah, happy 1 billion views almost, question mark, whenever, wherever you are. You know, one of my biggest conundrums is I have too many music to listen to. Try. Actually, there's one I could take off there. It's good. I've already taken another off before that because it was Genshin Impact. There's no point listening to it, to be honest. Even though I like the soundtracks usually, just not worth it. But I just end up having. There's another one I can remove. I had to go through it oftentimes. So I'll remove him as well, sadly. Yeah, but there's so many things here to listen to, and I'm also going to move that, because apparently that guy's not very nice. But like, I got such a list of artists to try, and even then some are just not kind of like the usual stuff. Like going from the bottom, I have weird niche ones like Joseph Lowenberg, who I think I heard from Twitch soundtrack. And I pick as part of that, and I don't know, like maybe I won't listen, because even though I like jazzy stuff, and I know it's jazz because I remember it being jazz, it's not worth it. And then there's someone called First Mountain, I don't know who that is. Earthbound, that's the games, obviously. Twitch soundtrack, remove. Chaka Khan, who I'm pretty sure did the one I covered. What's it called? I can't remember the name now. Let me look it up. Chaka Khan. Could probably come up on it. Let's see. Because it's like the most popular track. Any particular track for the awards? Yeah, it's not really showing. Okay, I don't know. Maybe a couple of videos. Ain't nobody, that's it. This is a classic, but you know, I got more here. I've got Xeno Crisis, which I think is like a metal thing, or maybe a game. It might be a game actually. Then I've got Bardcore, which I do like. I've listened to some Bardcore and it's great. It's also really fun. I do like sort of Bard version covers of popular tracks. I think it's a really clever idea. It's also genius because it's sort of royalty free in a way. It's just so weird, but anyway, there's a YouTube channel here I've got. Which one is this? Let me open that. Oh, Algo the Bard, isn't that Bardcore? I think there's 2 types of channels, yeah, that's right. And they got a list of things to try, the genres, nope, let's remove that. Cattle Decapitation, I did try some of those tracks, but I'm not a fan, even though they're vegan people. Epidemic Sounds, fuck off, scam artist. Also they got caught up in a Gamers Nexus drama, which is not a good idea. You have to be a complete fucking idiot to mess with the likes of Gamers Nexus and Lewis Rossman. It's so funny when that happens. Because they literally think they have a case because they're a big corporation with lots of money, but forgetting the fact that these people have just as much money. Anyway, they got more that here, like Jonathan Young, who I know is a cover artist on YouTube. Guilty Gear soundtrack, Piano Trance, which for some reason has Guilty Gear wiki inside. I'm gonna move that. I've been trying to find some epic keyboard artists, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be possible to find. I'm sort of thinking like Robert Moles sort of style, but also Yujiko's sort of old stuff. Far Sides, maybe Testament, Paul Rothman. Don't know who that is. Rosella, know that. 80s Eurodance, I think. Avantasia, if I can't remember. John Coltrane, Jones, In and Out Farm, Led Zeppelin, Earth, Wind and Fire, Final Fantasy. I've done Final Fantasy 14s. Not sure about Pulse, I could try that. It's written there. I've got Kirby to try. Final Fantasy Remake OSTs, if they're good. And then I've got a bunch of Bayonetta games doesn't do yet. Another one's here, which is interesting. And again, there's so many things. I've got Skeleton, Realm, Shakedown, Elton John, Christopher Cross. Love Bites, Pierce the Veil, Steely Dan, Nightwish, Unleash the Archers, not sure who that is. Twilight Force, Cheek, the ones who did the Good Time. Yeah, Good Times. Sabaton, Whitney Houston, Lorna Shore, Ghost Within Temptation, Digitex, Cradle of Filth, Psyche, Deftones, Laura Branigan, Saint Etienne, Barry Manilow, The Clash, Dizzy Gillespie, Jesus Man, Breakbot, Widow Smith, yeah. The rest of all that remains. Sandra Le Cretu, I've heard today. Kyoto's an audio, which is a soundtrack. OST, I might as well put that. Dio, I want to re-listen. Definitely. Also, I put on the Black Sabbath. That one I didn't listen to before. Yeah. Santana, I look forward to Santana. I quite like their style. Annihilator, Ontogeny, Endless Fantasia, Lamb of God, Sonic X Shadow Generations, Greg Howell, Bossa Nova Band, Girl in Panama, I believe they're called. Girl in Panama, I can't remember. Pseudo Regalia OST, Boston, Nina, Boney M, Mac DeMarco, Counterparts, Born of Osiris, Mega Man Dual Override, Arch Enemy Blood Dynasty, Insomnium, Dementia, Devil Rider, Zoop Token, The Biscuit, a random YouTube thing, not sure what this is, Poppy, Black Veil Brides, Breaking Benjamin, Fear Factory, Kylie Minogue, Hearts, Rush, Polaris, Pirates, Best of Bossa Lounge by Diana Martinez, Devil Driver, in Exile CRE, That's a Fast on the Pulse, Baby Metal, Metaphor Fantasio, Tron, Tom Jones, maybe. That's like dying Symphony X, I think it is Bits and Bops, Sosty. Bring Me Down Rising, Calcium, Blessings, Repentance, that'll be a new one, I'll definitely give it a try. Tony Burnett, Asking Alexandria, Pendulum, Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, OST, and the James Knight Versus, Crystal Lake, Evelyn Champagne King, Deep Purple, also Deep Metal, that'd be interesting. And One Punch Man OSTs. So many fucking things to listen to. It's actually insane. Like, I don't know how many this is. In terms of like lines, like if I highlight it, does it show how many there is? LibreOffice doesn't like that. I'll do the old Control and arrow. No. Okay. Let's just highlight it all. Selected 80 words. There's over 80 artists, I'm guessing. Or not. I'm confused. How do I select the whole thing? I think it's like 80 something in the table. I for some reason I have a table. And don't know what these other ones are. There's like over 372 words in this document apparently. I got listed and I've selected a bunch of them. There's like 30 different artists, 40 maybe. So there's a lot. I mean, the entire document has 372 words, but that's also got links and stuff occasionally. Yeah, I'm fucked when it comes to listening to things. And I'm not even 100% sure how I can even address it, because I can't necessarily go on the treadmill and listen to soundtracks, because I need to wear headphones. And headphones, when I'm sweating, get really fucking annoying and stinky, as I discovered recently, because I was doing hoovering in my room, which I hadn't done in a while, and I was thinking it wouldn't take much out of me, would it? So I risked it. And, well, turns out, I was sweating my arse off, and it began to stink my headphones out. Great. Excellent. Well, that sucks. So, I can't do that. But even then I'm concentrating on multiple things at once, so I don't necessarily need that. And then, even if I get opportunities to listen to music in whatever I do when I'm gaming, it's not going to be that easy either. It's going to be hard to concentrate, so I don't get really many opportunities to listen to music. On the bulk, like, yeah, I can do that, but for like what is essentially, like, it's also like getting breakfast and stuff and cooking, but for like 50 minutes to about an hour and a half a day, maybe even 2 hours, it can be worth it, I suppose. I haven't really considered that. But the main thing is I'm watching like Twitch streams, because I pay for it. I pay for Twitch Turbo, which is annoying, but it's the only way to get through the ads at this point. You know, succumb to that stupid fucking thing, stupid ad block thing they have. But it's a better alternative than subscribing to multiple channels, and with myself being quite uncomfortable with some channels, it certainly helps to have that, to be fair. So it does help. It is worth the money. I'm actually getting good bang for my buck. I just wish it was cheaper. 12 quid is quite a lot for something like that. But either way, put up with it. But yeah, music is just, it's a real struggle. I don't know how to get through this all. And I don't really know if there's any sort of advice, like, other than like dumbing it down even further. But I'm not even sure, because I just want to give artists a try. Some of them on there I look forward to a lot, like some of the jazz musicians, because I haven't really properly listened to jazz before, other than Nucleus, Ian Carr, and even just the game soundtracks out of jazz. I'm trying to think of others. Like, I did listen to Iron Maiden again recently, which was great. Other than questionable Mr. Dickinson. Okay, whatever. Yeah. I think one of the other artists I look forward to listening to on there, probably Mirror, because I've heard a lot about Mirror, and I know it's a very unique type of metal guitar style. Nick Nocturnal hyped Mirror up a lot, and after having seen some of the tracks and known how to play them actually, because funnily enough they're not actually too hard to play, it's just a case of playing higher up on the fretboard where the string tension starts to get a bit funky when it comes to the higher notes, and it starts to get a bit off, so it's all like microtonal by pure accident. I'm very interested either way, because that is sort of like a revolution in sort of metal music. Everyone talks about Anduin Patois, which I do like as well, but I think Mariah is also a sort of next level for metal sort of stuff. And also like Night Verses, if they count as metal. I wouldn't say they are 100% metal. I like the clean stuff, and obviously how the guitarist, I got his name, utilises the higher parts of the bass string. And I actually have my A string now, fun fact. I got the chord behind me. The E string broke right away because they tuned it the strangest fucking way again. They didn't wrap it around, they literally just cut it as short as possible, and then it just broke. And of course when you stretch it, when it's like cut like that, it's so fucking dangerous, it's stupid. It literally just came out right away and you couldn't put it back. Great. So yeah, I'm not going to touch the rest of the strings until they break. That's for that. And it took me a fucking long time to get the string out as well. It was annoying. I got some of those metal wrap thingy, wire thingies. I don't know what they're called. You sometimes find them wrapped around wires and stuff. They're sort of like a bendy metal thing. But I basically folded that and stuck it in to get the string out because it was stuck in there. So I managed to pull it out in the end with that. I don't know what was going on with that. It took me so fucking long. I think it's damaged the bridge already, which is extremely weird. And this is what I hate when they don't string these things properly. You always wrap the string around the fucking peg, regardless of whether it has a lock and tuner. I'm not even like sort of musician that looks for that. I'm not even a guitarist. I'm not looking for perfection there, but even I know that's stupid. If you don't have more string, then it's going to break. It's going to come out, and when you obviously tune it higher, when it's stretching and getting tighter, it's just going to backfire. It's not going to work out very well. And then when you detune it, and ultimately it gets looser, it's going to fucking come out. So yeah, it makes no sense. I don't know who would tune that. Anyway, yeah. I really think that this guitar will be interesting, and hopefully I do find a way to get through the music. I'm still watching the Persona 4 Golden playthrough. Just trying to figure out what can I do to actually like listen to the different tracks, because the problem is I have to somehow listen to it in a way that I can share the ones I liked, and then also you get a physical version of them, share the tracks I like rather. I don't know if you could do that on Android, can you? But to be fair, on Android it's going to be difficult too, because I have to transfer it somehow. So that does bring a complication, I suppose, not exactly worth it. Unless... No, that's interesting point. No, what I could do is open the same thing, the same playlist, in the same two browsers, one on my Android and one on computer, and then obviously put them where they need to be. It's an interesting point. That could actually work. And also, it's just a quick few seconds to get a physical version of it. Yeah, I might have figured it out. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Anyway, I better wrap this up actually. I think I've already talked long enough here. I didn't expect to do two of these so quickly, and I've got to render funny moments still. I'm going to do that first, I think. Then obviously this podcast episode. Oh my god, what a fucking week that I've also still got my colonoscopy to go, got stuff to do there. Just very interesting times at the moment. Things seem to be looking a bit up in areas. I just had a really stressful day. It's just various things, like planning ahead for that. Obviously the guitar within off just be a bit weird. It's an interesting build quality. I might do an idiot reviews. We'll see what it's like in a few days. Yeah, I found sharp fret edges already. Not bad enough to cut, I don't think, but they're kind of bad. But for the build quality, it's not too terrible. I was sort of expecting a bit worse, but actually it's good. The string spacing is fine. The action's a bit dodgy, like the higher strings. I don't know what the deal is with that. But it sounds fine. It did have a bit of an issue picking up on my jack for some reason, because the volume was off and it wouldn't turn up. Like for some reason there's like a kill switch or something in the volume knob, which is very strange. I don't know what the hell happened there. I've never seen anything like it or heard anything like it. Just sitting there for hours, not hours, minutes, trying to troubleshoot this. I've never had that with a guitar before. It's always turn your knobs up and it's on. But here it's like you turn it up and it does nothing. Great. Thanks, cool. Very interesting. It's not too difficult to play. I did try a bit. It's not. It's out of tune as fuck, and I'm gonna wait till I do properly test it. But it's actually not bad. You can actually wrap your entire hand around it. You can put a finger to your thumb, and it goes there. And also, one of the other big surprises with it is it actually fits on a fucking rip-off Hercules hanger. Because I have 6 of these. Yeah, 6 of these, and I was extremely shocked to find out it hangs on there. That came as a surprise, because it usually doesn't fit anything like that. I had a 6-string bass and it wouldn't go on there, it fucking refused. Not to mention it was dodgy, because the bass was like something like 7 or 8 kilograms or something stupid. It's really fucking heavy. Yeah, like, it fits, and I'm shocked. It will fit probably almost any hanger, as long as it fits a 7-string. It's not the same as a 7-string width though, we'll say. You do need to rotate it to fit it in, but it does squeeze and doesn't move. It's already in one at the moment. No, not moved, not one bit. It seems fine. And did I win the Bell lottery? Not really. Again, I've lost it. I lost it in the Spectre base one, and I lost it in this one too. I got the Curly Bowl instead. So I had no idea what I was going to get. But it was like relatively cheap, but it's still fine, I think. You don't really notice it. It's a genuine barrel as well, which I was surprised because I was assuming it's fake. I couldn't really find a way to confirm whether it was real, and it is actually real. It's got the holes in and stuff. As per the quality, I guess. But yeah, it's real. It's got the shine on it. A typical barrel shine when it's had a finish on it, or, paint. Yeah, don't know what else to add, so thanks for listening, I guess, and I'll see you next time. That's creepy.